is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated. Hold up. Y'all ain't them boys. This is Total Football Talk. Welcome to another exciting installment of Total Football Talk. Gridiron action and news the way you like it. I'm one of the co-hosts of this program, Cole Johnson, a.k.a. the Mad Scientist and EP Extraordinaire. And I am joined, as always, by the other co-host of this wonderful program, Mr. Commander's Gridiron Report, Mr. NRI Sports Debate, D. Willie, a.k.a. Drew Willingham. How you doing, my brother?
Doing great, bro. Glad to be back out here on this great show that we now have going for over a month now to talk some Week 5 action, Week 6 preview. Got a lot of great stuff today. Everybody tune on in. We'll have a great one for you.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And let's get it started. As I believe Hammer used to say that. I think he had a song like that. Yes, let's get it started.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Great.
Now, before we get everything started, of course, we had 4 teams that were on bye this past week. That would be the Browns, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Bucks. That's the Browns, the Chargers, the Seahawks, and the Bucks. They were on bye this past week. And now we get to the Thursday night game. A team decided to show up in Landover, but it was a team that I was not expecting. The Bears visited the Commanders, and they decided to just whoop up on them 40-20. The game wasn't even that close. In fact, it was 27-3 at the half. The big highlight was, of course, DJ Moore. He went off for 230 yards. I might as well just give you the floor. 230 yards, 3 touchdowns with DJ Moore. You could throw in 5 sacks with the Bears defense. Of course, we all know that the Commanders are your team. The floor is yours.
Well, when it comes to this game right here, when it comes to Thursday night football, this was an actual dumpster fire if I have seen them from quite some time. Go ahead and bring it up, Cole, because you know where I'm going. When it comes to the Washington Commanders, you played like a bunch of dumpster pelicans this past Thursday night on prime time football on Amazon Prime. I'm watching this game. You know, have to work on Thursdays, but I'm watching this game, Cole, and I have to say that there was more excitement from Bears fans in the crowd. I didn't realize that there was as many Bears fans in the crowd as I did when I saw this show. Well, not the show, but this actual game on primetime Thursday night. The Bears, as when you see Dick Butkus passing away just literally moments before kickoff, it was like an hour or two before kickoff. It's just like, I was talking with Darrell about this in Commander's Gridiron Report yesterday. He was there. It just seemed like the energy, everything shifted once the news break. It's like if there was ever a script in the NFL, in this moment, you knew once Dick Butkus passed away right before the game that this game was going to go in the favor of the Chicago Bears. So when it comes to that, it's just like having the correct ones in place, and you don't, because it's time to start looking forward for the Commanders in a different light as far as someone to run that team. Please get us someone better, and I think you already have him as your offensive coordinator.
Oh man. So we're already saying that we need to put in Airbnb in that spot. Oh man. Well, all I gotta say about that is the Bears can get their first win of the season. They now up their record to 1-4. The Commanders now they have lost 3 in a row. Now they are 2-3 after starting off very well with a 2-0 mark. Things are tough.
This team right here has to get it together, Cole, and they have to get it together fast, because it's not just going to be Ron Rivera that's going to be looking for a new place of employment.
Right.
Jack Del Rio, potential players as well, because you don't just get rid of coaching when you make overhauls. You make changes when it comes to the players as part of that 53-man roster or whatnot, and the 11 that are on the field. So when it comes to that, you have got to make a bunch of changes if you are the Washington Commanders this offseason.
I totally agree with that, and we'll talk a little bit more actually about that in the episode to come. But man,
but DJ Moore, what video game? It was like watching Madden on TV. Like when they had those games in London, when it was like the Toy Story, like the video game style of that. That's what this seemed like when watching him. 8 receptions for 230 yards. And Sam Howell threw for almost 400 passing yards. Like, he's establishing himself as the guy in Washington. But you need to have pieces around him if you're going to be successful, not just on the defense, because the defense gave up 40 points against the Bears. It's atrocious. But when it comes to this offensive line right here, they have to make some changes and give him better protection, because the amount of sacks that he has taken this year is absolutely ridiculous.
You cannot have him take that many sacks. Yes, I agree. And I was actually going to say, chiefly amongst needing an upheaval and an overhaul is the offensive line, because you cannot have a good quarterback like Sam Howell be put to the turf that many times. Just can't survive it. No quarterback can. Well, another London game, another Jaguars game, and another victory for the Jaguars in London. So they put their mark to 2-0 in London with a 25-20 victory over the Bills. Trevor Lawrence had a wonderful throwing day, 25-37, 315 yards. Travis Etienne, he rushed for 136 yards and gave you 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And Calvin Ridley gave you 122 receiving yards. We will talk about something that the Bills were talking about later on in this episode, but your thoughts on the London game from this past Sunday?
I think what really helped them out was definitely establishing that running game with 136 yards by ETN, like you brought up. Of course, we talked about it before. Successful teams out there can establish the run and can establish it early. For him to have nearly 150 rushing yards on the ground that day, and especially against the Buffalo Bills, man. The Buffalo Bills defense is no slouch. No. So for you to be able to put up 25 points and have 130-some yards on the ground, on top of Calvin Ridley being able to put his phone down, not make any bets and get suspended, and be able to actually produce out here on the field this year, he's doing a great job of making an impact on his Jacksonville Jaguars. He's trying to make up for that time he missed last year playing FanDuel, sports, DraftKings, whatever it was that he was doing. Prize Picks, I don't know. He was doing something over there, Cole. But he got it together. This team has established a great chemistry together, it seems like, as they are playing against the Bills, and they're playing at their best right now. They definitely need to continue it on if they're going to have further success throughout this year.
And the funny thing was, the talk was the Jaguars needed to find themselves after that embarrassing 37-17 loss they suffered at home to Houston. And then they find that magic elixir. They take their vacation trip, and they beat the Falcons and Bills respectively. Now they are 3-2. The Bills also are 3-2, and it's unfortunate that they took that 48-20 victory that they had in Western New York.
Yeah, because, I mean, when you put all that together and you think about how this transpired, it definitely
go ahead, sir.
Oh no, I guess we had a hiccup with the technology or whatnot. You froze. I was trying to kind of combat with the freeziness of the technology, throwing us curveballs out here on the StreamYard. But when it comes to this game right here, again, with the way they established things early on, and it was a close contest. I mean, things were back and forth, of course. But for you to do that against the Bills, who have definitely been looking strong over the past few weeks, I guess the Bills just weren't playing tough enough contests in order to showcase what they really are about right now.
Yeah. And it almost flushed down the drain the momentum that they were building with the physical style that it seemed as if they were trying to roll with. Well, back to the drawing board for them. And we'll talk about their game, which is this Sunday night, but that will be later. All right, to the Sunday 1 p.m. games that took place. We will start in Indy, where the Colts won 26-16 over the Titans. Zach Moss, yes, he wasn't the one who actually received the money. That was Jonathan Taylor, but he did give you 23 carries, under 65 yards, gave you 2 touchdowns as well. DeAndre Hopkins on the losing end gave you 8 receptions for 140 yards. And unfortunately, we had Anthony Richardson go down. And Gardner Minshew II, a.k.a. Uncle Rico, finished things up for the Colts. Your thoughts on this game?
Hey, man, I've been telling you for quite some time. We've had this conversation on this show about how Uncle Rico is the real mother, father, and deal, okay? He comes out there looking like Napoleon Dynamite's uncle, gets the job done at center. He does it, Cole. He does it each and every time. He's done it everywhere he's been. He's done it for the Eagles. He's done it here for the Colts. And where else did he do it before that, Cole? Where
the
else
Jaguars.
Exactly, who we were just talking about. So look at Uncle Rico and look at his capabilities. They beat a team that is very hard to beat. No, I'm just kidding. When it comes to the Tennessee Titans. However, we have to give it to him. Isn't Uncle Rico undefeated as a starter this year? Or not a starter, but in cleanup duty? Isn't he undefeated?
So far, yes, he is. And actually, the Titans have been sort of a kryptonite to the Colts. So they took care of 2 streaks. And I forgot how many games in a row they've lost to the Titans. But they took care of that. And they took care of a 9-game home losing streak with their victory this Sunday. So they are 3-2. The Titans are now 2-3. Oh, and Ryan McCarthy, no credentials required fame. He says, gents, joining a little late, but is Drew wearing a Bobby Boucher jersey? Also hypothetical. Could Bobby Boucher stop Forrest Gump? The answer to that question is yes, he is. Nice guess, sir.
Yes. Great comment there, Ryan McCarthy. Thank you for tuning in as always. So thank you.
And we appreciate you, my friend. We totally appreciate you. All right. Do we have to? The Saints shut out the Patriots 34-0. The only highlight really is Mac Jones got benched the 4th quarter, and he got benched for the 2nd straight game. I mean, Mac Jones threw 2 picks. One of them was a pick 6. I mean, what else is really to talk about this game? Seriously.
This game right here was an absolute dumpster fire. I'm not even going to go into our saying I don't want to overdo it for this show because there's other games I want to use that in. But when it comes to this, I feel like we're getting close to potentially seeing the end of Bill Belichick as a head coach, or if not as the head coach, as the GM. One of the two is going to happen this offseason, if not both. He may lose both because they're not going to, after all this time as the head coach and what he's done as the coach for the Patriots, they're not going to like make him step down as the coach and let him be the GM, right? It's going to be, if he steps down for something, it's going to be as the GM, and they give him another year or so as the coach to see with whatever moves the new GM does, if he can actually establish his greatness again. But he doesn't have Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not coming out of retirement, and there's nobody else of Tom Brady's caliber that can come in there and do the things that Tom Brady did with the pieces around him. He had a bunch of no names that he was playing with those times. Mac Jones is trying to do the exact same thing in certain cases, except for the offense. They did make moves for this offseason, Juju Smith-Schuster, and they brought pieces around him to help him be more successful. But look at when we're seeing they've been blown out 3 out of the past 5 games this season. It is sad. It is time to make some serious moves. I don't know if getting rid of him as the coach is the necessary move, because you got to treat him with respect because of his legacy and what he's done, regardless if he had Tom Brady or not. But at the end of this year, at least the GM position for him has got to go, because you see the moves he's making and getting blown out in 3 out of 5 games this year. It's not working out, old Bill. It's time to move on from that position.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And this game was pretty much. From Norway, Sig Diggy says, "Greetings, folks. Greetings to you, sir. Glad that you are on board, brother. And I hope you enjoy what you're about to see and hear." Now, a pretty good game, actually, although it was not necessarily bowling shoe ugly, but it was just physical and grind them out. The Ravens went to Acrisure Stadium. Yes, I know it used to be called Heinz Field. They played the Steelers, and the Ravens had a 10-3 lead, but they did not hold it. They lost to the Steelers 17-10. George Pickens went off, 6 receptions, 130 yards, and a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And TJ Watt, who is making a huge bid to be the Defensive Player of the Year, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 passes defended. The other thing that I have to point out, yes, Lamar Jackson seemed to lose the game at certain stretches with certain decisions he made, but those wide receivers, they have bricks for hands. Your thoughts, sir?
The Steelers defense punished the Ravens in this game. Lamar Jackson was getting beat around so many times. You saw the pressure that was being applied by the Steelers defense. Yeah. It was not their quarterback or their offense that really drove them to this victory right here. It was mainly the play of their defense. And of course, you got to give it to George Pickens, because George Pickens did make, Pickett look better than what he actually is. Because we've seen so many cases before this game where the play of Kenny Pickett is not anywhere close to what we saw in this game right here. It was the caliber of the receiver in Pickens that made Pickett look better with those 6 receptions, 130 yards, and a tidy. Okay. But when I put it all into perspective, you're going to need play out of your receivers like that. We were just talking about the Patriots and how they made all those moves for the receivers. And of those caliber type names that you brought in around Mac Jones, should be making him look like Kenny Pickett in this game against the Ravens. Instead, the Ravens defense that we're normally used to seeing as a great defense kind of softened up on this one. As Sick would say, they were SAWFT, soft up in here, because they made the Steelers look like a great offense for short little flashes, but their defense, mainly on the Pittsburgh Steelers side, was what applied the pressure, which was what determined the outcome in this game.
And because of that defense, they actually might in an ugly way win the AFC North, and I can't believe I'm actually saying that. Goodness gracious. Ryan, I agree with you. He says the Ravens receivers couldn't catch a cold, let alone a pass. Yes, I agree. Six says, who slipped on the Ravens end? You could pick your choice from the owner on down. And he says, paging Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, the Ravens defense needs more than an earful. And it's not that the defense was bad. It's just that I think to me, the defense was overextended. And when you play a physical style, you overextend in defense and you're physical against them, they're all going to play a little softer. They just are. That's just how it rolls. And I wouldn't expect anything less. Both teams with the verdict are now 3-2, but the Steelers now hold a tiebreaker over their rival. Oh boy. And we have the Lions, who are seemingly rolling right along. They won 42-24 pretty handily over the Carolina Panthers. Adam Thielen for the losing cause. He did catch for 107 receiving yards and got a touchdown. But this game belonged to Jared Goff with 236 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. And the former Bear, David Montgomery, 122 rushing yards and a touchdown. Your thoughts, sir?
This is the second week in a row, I believe I'm saying that where was this production from David Montgomery when he was with the Bears? Because he had a pretty solid game the week before, if I'm remembering correctly. We were just talking about this on last week's show.
He had another 120-yard rushing game against the Packers then. Yes, he did.
This is probably the first year I haven't really been gung-ho about fantasy because of where priorities have shifted and I'm focusing more on doing more, productions and stuff like that. And I remember, though, back when I was playing, how when I had Montgomery that one season, how he just literally, it was when he first came out, he was hyped up and then completely dropped and laid the eggs, throughout the year. Okay. So when I think about that, and then when I'm seeing the production, I'm thinking, where was this back when I had you in a paid league? Okay. But now back to professionalism. When it comes to the Lions game right here, the amount of points that they are racking up, this team is for real right now. Like, they have been a team on the come up for a couple of years now, but we've been talking about it for weeks about, they've been biting kneecaps and pulling the close ones out. This was definitely a team that we expected them to smack around, but for them to win this convincingly was definitely proof that they are not a team to take lightly out here. Now, Adam Thielen, 107 yards and a touchdown for the losing effort. It's pretty commendable, but the rest of that team is absolute trash. And we've talked about this before when you got Frank Wright coming in there. They're trying to act like he's the savior of the team during the offseason because he's some quarterback guru. Well, I'm sorry. Your reputation and your resume and the quarterbacks that you have established, to me, are not well enough to turn around this Carolina franchise, at least this season. So this was expected. This deficit for them was expected. I don't think that people had almost 20-point victory for the Lions, an 18-point victory in mind. But seeing this convincing win right here is just another more proof for the pudding that this team is for real, and they're going to make some noise in this playoffs this season, I think.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. To the feedback zone, Victor Locke, V-Lock A3, or Vicala, as he's known on, I can't remember the program, but that's besides the point. He says, good afternoon to the EP of all EPs, Cole Johnson. Thank you, sir. And the exterminator of dumpster pelicans, Sensei Drew Willingham. Thank you for that.
I love that. We're going to work that into a promo.
Thank you, the Ed McMahon of our crew. I appreciate you. And Ryan McCarthy, again, he says that Ravens offense made the 2000 Ravens offense look downright explosive. Congrats to the Steelers for their latest win in the Chalkline Classic. And then an old favorite, Ike Dawson. What's up, man? What's
Ike
up, brother?
In the house.
Glad that you're here, man. Glad you're aboard the fam. The Dolphins beat the Giants 31-16. I'm not laughing for that. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about my mentality brother Wise and the time that he was on in or out with my partner here, Drew, where Drew looks like he has more and more have predicted correctly that the Giants is going to start 1-7 to this 2023 season. And other than a pick six, the Giants look like hot garbage. I mean, the Giants offensive line allowed the Dolphins defense to get 6 sacks. And then, of course, the defense was just hot garbage, too, because Tagovailoa, even though he threw for 2 picks, he threw for 308 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill went off for 181 receiving yards and a touchdown. And Devon Achane, and I pray that you get healthy, brother, because I heard that he went down with some knee issues. 151 rushing yards and a touchdown himself. Your thoughts on the game in South Beach?
Sorry, Wise El Jefe. Each time we get closer and closer to this, I just want to apologize. But at the same time, when it does happen, I'm going to rescind my apologies because I did predict this. Okay. I'm just, for right now, I'm apologizing because I feel your pain. I've been on the other side of this as a sports fan. Okay. Absolute hately seeing this team do that. And I even told you, I was like, I don't even like predicting this because I know I'm going to catch some shade as a formerly known as the REDSKINS fan. Okay. Now as the Commanders. Okay. But I have to call it like I see it in each and every week, except for the game that I said that they were going to win. I did have that wrong. I did have that wrong. However, at this point through 5 games, your boy is looking pretty solid right here when it comes to this pick. When it comes to the team that they played this past week, though, we knew they were going to lose to the Dolphins. And pretty, if you were to look at the Lions and the Panthers, we just talked about it, how we didn't think that was going to be as much of a decisive victory. I would have flipped the script for this one right here with the Dolphins and the Giants based on what the Dolphins have been doing for the first 4 weeks leading up to this game, week 5.
Agreed.
So I saw this, and I probably would have guessed a higher score than 31-16 based on what scored 70 points in a game. Like, putting all that together, it's amazing that the Giants, as bad as they played, didn't lose by 70 points.
Lord.
And then you look at, Tua, he had 308 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Had he not thrown those 2 interceptions, Cole, this game would have been even more out of hand. Is the way I look at it when it comes to that. And then Tyreek Hill has been literally playing video game throughout this entire season and is going to try to set the receiving record, even though
he's trying for 2,000 yards since season. Yeah, I agree.
You, Cole Johnson, have said it before about asterisks. And I know it, and you know it, about talking about asterisks with certain things. If he accomplishes the feat this year, you have to put an asterisk on it because he has an extra week to do it. They have 17 games in the season. Unless he breaks it in 16 games, then I'd say don't give him the asterisk. And he's trying. It looks like he's trying for that because the amount of yards he's putting up per game. He's putting up 180 yards. Yeah. I don't know the exact average, but I feel like the man's averaging at least 125 yards a game.
I'll put it you this way: if he were to catch for 200 yards a game, that would mean that he would end the season with 3,400 yards. So he would quite easily break that record because the record is 1,900. I think it's 1,984, but I might be wrong. But I know it was Calvin Johnson who has it. But I know it's 1,900. That much I do know.
And I really don't want to see Megatron's record. I don't want to see it be broken because I love like Megatron. Could you imagine if Megatron was on this team and the type of playing style that he was back when he retired? Of course, by now he would have retired and he wouldn't be playing as well as he did when he retired because the years would have added up and the damage would have. But could you imagine him being on this Lions team right now? He would make Jared Goff look better than Brock Purdy on the freaking San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, of course. Of course. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'll make that correction. 1,964 yards, but still, that's still a lot of yards. It's still a lot of yards.
I just wish we could have seen Megatron play on this type of Lions team because he deserved it. Like, he really deserved it.
He did. Ike says the Steelers need MJ help. Well, heck, they need every type of help they can on offense. The defense is playing lights out.
Ike, I can give you kind of something like that.
Stop it. Get some help.
Okay, with that being said, goodness gracious. 6 says, don't tease Wise. I think he means Wise. Don't tease Wise by playing 2 live crew. Oh, Lord, why? Valdez BTW, thank you for being part of the fam. He says, hey, what's up? How you doing, man?
Hey, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Sick basically saying, well, what Drew is saying is he's sorry, but not sorry.
Facts.
You're saying don't tease him tomorrow. Got you. All right. I promise to not try to tease him.
That's terrible.
That's my brother. I can't. You do doggone well. Because he picked the Bears last week. The first thing he did at 5:30 in the morning said, yeah, who picked that winner between the Bears and the Panthers? Oh, yeah, it was me. Don't worry, I'm going to tease him. All right, to the late games, and the Bengals decided to literally play with the Cardinals and then not play with them at the same time. 34-20 was the final score. Joe Burrow, easily his best performance of the year, 317 passing yards. He did throw a pick, but he threw for 3 touchdowns. All of them went to number 1, Jamar Chase. Targeted 19 times, got 15 receptions, 192 yards, and then, as I mentioned, 3 receiving touchdowns. Is this the Bengals announcement that they are back?
What?
No, they're not. They are not back. And come on, people.
Let me talk to you.
When it comes to this situation right here, my man, the EP extraordinaire, the man who produces the fire promos himself, has won for this show right here. And you have this guy right here calling the quarterback of this team the ultimate dumpster pelican. He literally has been playing like this. He's the second one on the right. He's not bad enough. He's not bad enough to be the first, because that goes to Zach Capono Wilson, okay? Because we've already talked about that one right there, and we'll get back to Zachary Capono Wilson at some point in this show. When it comes to this right here, when it comes to the way this man has played the first 4 weeks, you cannot get excited about 317 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and he did throw an interception. He did turn the ball over. So had he thrown 4 touchdowns and rushed for another and didn't have any turnovers, maybe. But he's still banged up, man. He's still banged up pretty bad, still recovering from all that. And he may not recover until the offseason because of everything.
Right.
So the weather is only getting colder. It gets harder to heal in colder weather, especially when you're moving around in colder weather. You and I both know getting older, I've had sports injuries and stuff too, that when it gets colder, like this time of the year, this is where I'm like, I enjoy the weather, like it's cooler, but I know that as each passing day goes and gets closer towards the winter, it's going to get worse. Like you'll have a slight pain today. It'll be manageable. Like you get through the day. Everything's good. You're still chipper, everything. 4 weeks from now, when it's 30 degrees outside, you're going to be singing a different tune. And he may take a while to get a little bit more healed up. So do I think that this is the beginning of a resurgence for the Bengals this year? No, I do not, because they need Michael Jordan again.
Stop it. Get some help.
Well, true as that may be, they are only 1 game out of the AFC North lead, so they're 2-3. Of course, they're looking up at the Bengals. No, I'm sorry. They're looking up at the Ravens and the Steelers, who are both 3-2. So they're still within distance, although they already took one on the chin to the Ravens. So,
if they win the division, I will do this for our guy Joe.
Acknowledge me.
You will make him happy if you do that. Ryan says, in 15 years, we'll get an Amazon documentary on Megatron, and he'll break the silence on why he retired. Well, you don't have
He's
to be
already
silent.
been breaking the silence, though. Like he's already got certain YouTube videos out there where he's talking about why he retired. I mean, the man was 29. He's educated. He still felt great overall. He wanted to feel great into his later years, and he had other things outside of football that with his mind, that he could still make good money and still be successful. He didn't need football. So I mean, he'll probably go a little bit more in depth. But if you look out there on YouTube, there's certain I wouldn't say documentaries, but interviews he's given of recent years since the pandemic. I mean, since post 2020, and certain situations like the pandemic have made people, I guess, break their silence because they realize that tomorrow's not guaranteed. We might as well get the story out now. And he has started to become a little bit more verbal about it, about his transgressions with the management of the Detroit Lions.
Yes.
There are things out there that he has said in recent times. You just got to find it. He's breaking it loose, but it may be like 10 or 15 years before we get the complete tell-all book documentary 2-hour-long spectacle. I'm just saying you can find an 8 to 10 minute clip on YouTube of him talking about it. He has been breaking the silence more over recent years.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised, and I'm happy that not only did he retire early, he still ended up with the yellow jacket too. So, and kudos, he deserves it and he earned it, no question about that. But yes, the Bengals are 2-3. The Cardinals, they fall to 1-4. Ouch. Out in SoFi, which was SoFly for the Eagles, they played the Rams, and the game really wasn't close. but it wasn't all that pretty. The Eagles beat the Rams 23-14. I'll do the losing team first. Cooper Kupp, 8 receptions, 118 yards. Wonderful, wonderful job. Unfortunately, everything else, all Eagles. Started with Hurts, 303 passing yards and a touchdown with a pick. And he chipped in with 72 rushing yards and a touchdown, rushing. A.J. Brown had 127 receiving yards. Dallas Goedert, there was a Dallas Goedert sighting. 8 receptions, 117 yards and a touchdown. And the Eagles defense put Matt Stafford to the turf 4 times. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
This Eagles team is definitely for real. They are not playing around out here, and especially with the way that they won this game right here and the production that they got all around. You know, besides Cooper Kupp, what else did the Rams really have going on that day? I mean, not much else that really contended with them to get those 2 touchdown possessions or 2 touchdown conversions. When I think of the Eagles, they definitely have a really good chance of definitely at least going to the NFC Championship game. Depending on how the seeding works out, at worst, yes. And if it's an Eagles-49ers matchup, I feel like it's going to probably be one of the best games of the year.
Yes, I agree.
And I'm starting to give a little bit more respect to the team, just not the fan base. But when it comes to the 49ers, yes, they are up there in the caliber of the Eagles. The Eagles team right here definitely is playing really well, as I got my man off the chain right there with this one when I said about the 49ers. But we haven't even gotten to that game yet, so hold your horses because I got plenty coming for there. When it comes to this right here for the Eagles, though, 23-14, respectable victory over a Los Angeles Rams team that is not the same caliber of once they once were. However, they're not as bad as they were of yesteryear. So I have to at least give them that. Cooper Kupp showed up. Dallas Goedert finally resurfaced because it seemed like he was in the witness protection program for quite some time because the amount of production they were getting out of him. So good things for the Eagles this week and going forward, at least until they face up with the 49ers at some point this year, which they will before the season's over.
I actually like this win, the way the Eagles won it. The games, maybe the Bucs win I liked, but you know, I wanted to see the Eagles actually get a not necessarily convincing win, but a win that they just grinded it out and they made the team that they were facing play ugly. And Sunday, I think that's what happened with the Rams. They just took the Rams out of their depth. They reduced them to the one dimension and just had them throw the rock all over the place. And I love the fact the Eagles were like, you're just not good enough to beat us. And yes, they played the team, the Rams, who were better than they were last year. So yes, no question about that. 6 says, try having Renault syndrome during the winter, Drew. You lose circulation in your hands and feet when it gets really cold. He says, I remember Robert Smith retired from the Vikings back in 2000 to go back to medical school. That is correct. And he actually stated it, I think, years before he actually made that retirement announcement. Like as far back as like 1996, I think. Ohio State alum. 6 says, who are you referring to as Megatron regarding the Lions? No, it's not Barry Sanders. It's Calvin Johnson. Wide receiver, 6'5", 225, I think. And he played out of Georgia Tech. But yeah, awesome wide receiver. And the guy just made basically to me, he made Matthew Stafford's career. Yeah, I will stand on that. He made Matthew Stafford's career. But the Eagles, they are now 5-0. They match another team that we'll talk about later. The Rams dropped to 2-3, and they and they are battling mightily for positioning, hopefully, for a wild card slot, as my partner would say, out here in these streets. Now, in the Jets decided to put it on the Broncos. 31-21 was the final score. The Broncos defense, they came to play, 4 sacks, a recovered fumble, and a pick. But this was a Jets show. The Jets defense, they also came up with 4 sacks. They recovered 3 fumbles also. But this game, in terms of a player, it belongs to Breece Hall. He tweaked his knee and was out for the balance of this year. Last year on the same field, he comes back as a conquering hero, 22 carries, 177 yards, and a touchdown. Your thoughts on Sean Payton being humbled by the team that Nathaniel Hackett runs offense for?
Sean Payton's been humbled this entire season.
Yes.
Because he picked one of the worst teams to come out of semi-retirement or whatever you want to call it, even though he wasn't really retired, but you know what I'm saying. He didn't have a job. He did have a job, but not as a coach. But anyway, when it comes to Sean Payton and being embarrassed by the former head coach of the Denver Broncos, and I am not wearing a Denver Broncos jersey today. This is like what Ryan McCarthy said, the water boy jersey, Bobby Boucher, even says Bobby Boucher on the back, just to make sure there's no confusion that I am rooting for a winless team out here in these streets. No, when it comes to Sean Payton, comes this team, they have a long way to go to reestablish themselves as the team that won the Super Bowl less than a decade ago. Okay, there's nowhere even close of the caliber of talent on this team that can take them to the Super Bowl, even if some of these former players on the team have Super Bowl rings or not. Okay, when I think about Sean Payton getting humbled, like you said, the Jets defense, was all over that offense.
It
4
came
sacks
to play. Yes.
Yeah, 3 recovered fumbles. Breece Hall, like you said, 177 yards on the ground, finally reestablishing himself as one of the top backs in the league. Coming off the injury and rehabilitating himself, getting back where he needed to be. You have to look at Breece Hall and his production. Dalvin Cook will be a good complementary piece once he continues to learn the playbook and get better with this team. And if they have a 1-2 punch there, and if Zachary Capono Wilson can step it up and actually play consistent, decent style football, then I have to give it to this Jets team that they have a shot to at least make some noise in the wild card spot of the playoffs and maybe get to the division round and then get mollywopped after that. And then grow from the type of team that they were last year to where they are a better team this year, to where when Aaron Rodgers comes back next year, they at least did overcome what they had in the 2022 season. So there's promise there. But when you are the Denver Broncos, and we had so much hype going during this offseason, Sean Payton coming in, the quarterback guru, gonna fix Russell Wilson, gonna fix this offense, gonna fix this team. And we see the results that we've been getting. This has been absolutely ridiculous to watch. Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive coordinator for the Jets has definitely got to be happy to get the retribution in this situation and to get payback as he did against his former team by getting the victory for the Jets in a game that many people were saying the Broncos were going to beat the Jets in because of other things we discussed in the previous weeks.
Right. Yeah. So the Jets, they improved to 2-3. The Broncos fall to 1-4. And the Jets fan that we know, Ryan McCarthy, he says, "Enter praise dance here." He also says Jack Wilson is getting himself acclimated and comfortable into a game manager role, similar to what Mark Sanchez did in the 2009 and 2010 seasons. Well, I know as a Jets fan, you were praying that this team will have the same fate as the 2009-2010 Jets team had, because both those teams went on to the AFC Championship game. They have the defense that can carry them there. We'll see if the offense can in due time. But yes, this is actually the best output their offense has put forth. 24 points is pretty good. Of course, you have to add the other 7 for the D because that was a scoop and score for them. Whew. Now to the Twin Cities, where they are focused on the Twins, but they saw the Vikings. Think of the joint again. Now, I know I said that in every game that Kirk Cousins throws over 300 yards, they lose. In the only game they won, he threw for less than 150. Well, he didn't do both. He didn't do either one, but he did throw for 284 yards, and he threw it for 2 touchdowns. So that means the Vikings lost. And yes, they did. They lost to the Chiefs 27-20. Mahomes threw for 281 yards. He also threw for 2 touchdowns. and a game gimpy. Travis Kelce had 10 receptions in the game. Your thoughts on this contest, sir?
The Chiefs got really lucky to get Travis Kelce back, because when he initially went down, they did not look good at all. That was a very scary looking injury that we saw. Swifty wasn't in the building. We had no Taylor Swift action in there for the crazy, ridiculous amount of times the NFL wants to cut to her being in the booth. I guess she finally had enough. Seems like their relationship is still intact for a Swifty update for you guys. However, when it comes to her missing this game, it was probably good. She probably would have freaked out when she saw Travis Kelce down on the ground. However, when you look at Minnesota, they've been battling back over these past few weeks. After getting embarrassed the first few games, the past couple of weeks, they've definitely been turning on the Jets and starting to look like the Minnesota Vikings of old. We expected the Chiefs to win, but the way the Minnesota Vikings have been playing the past, to start the season, I expected it to be a little bit more of a deficit for the Vikings of what it was. And for them to lose by only a one possession game, you have to give it up to the Vikings for fighting against the current Super Bowl defending champions in the Chiefs, because they definitely were able to contend with them for most of the game. When it comes to Kirk Cousins throwing for nearly 300 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, him and Mahomes had very similar numbers in this game. It just came down to who was actually the better team by the end of when the clock struck 0, and that was the Chiefs.
Yes. So that means the Chiefs, they go to 4-1. The Vikings, they fall to 1-4. It's unfortunate for them because they seem to fight, but they just cannot get that extra play they need to get the W. Ryan says, look, the butt thump is still a sore spot, Cole. I'm sorry. He ruined my Thanksgiving when he did that. I'm sorry. 6 says, wait, no Taylor Swift? Good. It's been annoying since day one. Ryan says, Minnesota? Ew. Probably Taylor Swift. Well, I hate to burst your bubble. Swift did travel with the team, and she was in Minneapolis. Now, if she decided to actually show herself to be visible or not, that was up to, of course, her and possibly Travis Kelce. But she actually did travel with the team. So we shall see on that front. Oh, and now we get to a true bowling shoe ugly game. That was Sunday night. $42-10. The 49ers beat the Cowboys. The game wasn't even that close. Okay. So Brock Purdy threw for 252 yards, threw for 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. George Kittle caught 3 of those things, 67 yards receiving. The 49ers offense got you 170 rushing yards. They also, on defense, gave you 3 sacks, a fumble recovery. And then there is Dak Dakota Prescott. 153 yards. He did throw a pretty touchdown pass, but he threw not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions. So now, sir, you are 6 away from ruining your promise of throwing less than 10 interceptions in the 2023 season. 42-10. This game was even worse than bowling shoe ugly. In fact, I'll throw bowling shoe ugly and dumpster pelican worthy all at the same time. Your thoughts, sir?
When I was watching this game, I don't know who does that rap song of when it rains, it pours. It was stuck in my head like that from back in the day. It was like the 90s or the 2000s. I can't remember. It was just like this rap song with when it rains, it pours. Was stuck in my head throughout the entire game. When it rains, it pours. It's stuck in my head even right now as I'm talking about it. When it rains, it pours. I gotta stop. I'm not a DJ. I'm not a rapper. I have to stop right now. When it comes to watching this game,
Wait. You had to
Stop it. Get some help.
Yes, absolutely. I did, because it was
right.
When it rains, it pours. It just kept going, Cole. It kept going because 42-10. I'm going to start off with this. When you look at last week's episode, I promise you I was not smoking drugs, okay? I promise you I was not.
I still can't believe it.
And Cole still can't believe it. I will sit here on this episode and tell you, first off, out of my mouth, I was wrong. I was wrong. Exactly, which it's absolutely sacrilegious for me to say what I said last week when you put all that in perspective. But I was wrong. I had too much faith in the Cowboys. I should have looked in a different direction. I should have looked at the 49ers. Instead, I had a hiccup. I got lost for a split second and had a loss of trans of my emotional intelligence, okay? For a slight moment, okay? I am man enough to admit it and come up here and accept fault. I will not run away. I will not call out sick. I will not make anybody else do it for me. I'm going to sit here and tell you that I made a mistake. I was wrong with what I said. I said what I said. I will not pick the Cowboys to beat the 49ers ever again. And when I make a mistake, I'm going to just sit here and say I made one. I made a mistake. 42-10. Brock Purdy did not look like Tom Brady, okay? He didn't even throw for 200 passing yards, I don't think. But he threw for 3 touchdowns. He was crushing it when it came. Well, he did throw for 252 yards. I'm thinking more along the lines of before halftime. He only threw for like 50 yards after halftime or whatnot. But when you have the score that you have to not throw the ball around because you don't want to turn it over. So my bad. I was almost wrong again. I can sit here and admit it when I'm wrong. But 42-10, this 49ers team is doing things with talent from other teams like Trent Williams, who used to be part of the formerly known as the REDSKINS. Yes. They were not able to get this type of production out of him. Imagine if he was doing this type of production
on the line. Oh my gosh.
And they let him walk. Imagine if he was doing the things like that. He was still a really good player when he was with the Commanders formerly before. But when I think about what he's doing now, the type of coaching that's around him, the staff that's around him, they're getting the absolute best out of him. And I think that the way that they're playing is more so a testament to the coaching than it is to the actual talent on the team, because they are getting decent, still pro ball players and turning them into great players. And Mr. Irrelevant is looking like someone who should have been drafted in the first round.
Mr. Irrelevant is very relevant. The Cowboys. They didn't run a play in the red zone the whole game. And they only had 8 first downs the entire game. 49ers had 8 first downs in the first period. That's how lopsided this game was. So that means the Cowboys follow 3-2. The 49ers are the other team in the NFL who is undefeated. They are also 5-0. And Six says, look, Drew, since he's wearing the Bobby Boucher's number, I'm just going to talk like Farmer Fran. You can't do it. I'm sorry. And so he says, this Bowling Shoe Ugly segment is brought to you by Country Fried Chimpkins, brand new Cajun spicy and barbecue buffalo wings. Let's get spicy or get funky. The choice is yours.
Just one change to that. Instead of get funky, let's say get funked.
I'm loving how you shouting out your brands, along with peanut butter and jealous, brand new jack-o'-lantern marmalade and zombie blackberry.
I gotta bring that commercial back. I gotta reshoot it. I gotta make some changes to the In or Out Sports Debate. Episode 103 is tonight. If you guys want to check it out, Ryan O'Neal from WQEE 99.1 FM, who used to showcase Sports Sensations Unleashed, is going to be on tonight's show. So definitely tune into that on Sartoba Media if you have time at 9:05 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah. So check that out later on tonight on Sartoba Media. Oh, you're going to enjoy it. Oh, yeah, there was a Monday night game. Las Vegas Raiders. They hosted the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry. They beat the Packers 17-13. Oh, good Lord. I'm sorry. Robert Spillane had 2 picks. That was 2 of 3 that Jordan Love threw, along with 182 passing yards. Jimmy Garoppolo came back and he threw a pick and a touchdown and over 200 yards. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
Well, when it came to what Jordan Love actually did, 3 interceptions in the game.
Mhm.
That was absolutely terrible. And you're not even throwing for 200 yards. You know, playing against the Las Vegas Raiders, who've had their own tale of woes, when you're giving Robert Spillane 2 interceptions of those 2 of those 3 interceptions and just throwing it right to him. I mean,
Yes.
this game was definitely a snooze fest. If you are a fan of either one of these two teams, I'm not mad at you if you took a nap during this contest last night or
Ain't
just
either.
went to bed for the rest of the night because it
Ain't
was
either.
that bad of a game.
It's horrible. It was horrible.
Especially right there at the end. You had a chance
Yes.
at the end to win the game.
Mhm.
Now,
13-10.
I only kept watching because I knew that we were going to talk about this on this show today. And we
Mhm.
were in the very, very end of the game. And
Mhm.
Jordan Love already had 2 interceptions, has a chance down 17-13 to come back and win this game by a field goal. Because when the Raiders last had the ball, their very last possession, they didn't convert on that field goal attempt. So
Right.
they would have been up by 7.
They're
But
up
then
by
you
7.
but then you have Love getting them all the way down into position to potentially score and win the game. And we thought we were going to see some type of Aaron Rodgers-esque moment right there of a comeback victory for the Packers. But no, he didn't learn enough on the sideline as he threw his 3rd interception to cost the game for them.
Well, he probably learned from Brett Favre because he would like to throw those late game interceptions. So there you go. He learned from somebody. Rob D, who was, of course, a 49er fan, he says, bang, bang, Niner gang. Yes, be proud because they did their thing Sunday night. 6 says, oh, what's good, everybody in the chat? Yeah, that game was absolutely horrendous. But yes, both teams, they are now 2-3 to start their 2023 seasons. Boy. But we do have this. The game of the week. It featured the Houston Texans and the Atlanta Falcons. And no, they're not here because the Texans are my team. They're here because this actually was the best game of them all. As the Falcons eked out a 21-19 victory over the Texans, Desmond Ridder decided to show himself after talk, even on this show, of probably putting Taylor Heineke in Ridder's place because he had 2 bad performances, 329 passing yards, and a shovel pass for a touchdown to Bijan Robinson, which that was partially what got them back the lead. CJ Stroud on the losing end, 249 passing yards, a touchdown, and once again, 0 interceptions. Proud of him for that. But the start of the game, of course, is Younghoe Q. The game-winning 37-yard field goal with no time remaining to give the Falcons a W. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, when it comes to this right here and the kicker, I mean, this guy's been solid for many seasons now. We know he hasn't been around for too long, but for the seasons he's been around the Falcons, he's definitely been a clutch kicker for them. If it's a field goal that's 50, 55 yards, you can bet that he's going to make that almost every time. I mean, he's just consistent from that range. And even shorter field goals as well. But for him to come out there and do what he did in order to help this team get over the hump in this game, I know it was hard for you because you being a fan of the Texans, but I would definitely agree that it was the game of the week because CJ Stroud is still playing very well. And in my opinion, right now at this point of the year, even though we've had some other talented rookies around, he is the rookie of the year, in my opinion, at this point. I mean, he is definitely balling each and every week. Even in losses, he's throwing for 250 yards and still converting on scores. So I know you as a fan of that team are proud to see what you got there, just like I'm proud to see what I've got with Sam Howell, but you've got better pieces around you in Houston that is protecting him in on both sides of the ball. And you've got a great coach in D'Amico Ryans. Like he's doing a great job right there and establishing it. That's what and when it comes to leadership and everything stemming from the top, you're seeing between your franchise and mine that I'm a fan of, when you have great leadership in place, it affects the overall play of the team. And then on our side of it here in DC, similar, except for it's negative. And we've got negative stuff going on there still that needs to get figured out between the head coach, defensive coordinator, and other different things. But this particular game right here for the Falcons, to now be 3-2 after the way they started the year out with the question marks that were around Desmond Ridder, and now we're seeing production out of him where he's throwing for 300 yards, converting on scoring plays as well, and this team is edging it out at the win. Yes, it came off of the leg of your kicker, but your quarterback puts you in the position for the actual field goal conversion to take place. So when I think about all that, as much as I like Taylor Heineke, and during the offseason, I was hoping that he would find his way in there. If Ridder keeps playing like this, you got to keep going with your guy right there at QB1.
Yeah. I agree. Ridder, I think he did well for himself. And yes, although the Texans are 2-3 and the Falcons improved to 3-2, I could feel saddened, but I actually am not. In fact, when Stroud threw the touchdown pass to Dalton Schultz that put the Texans up under 2 minutes to go. It was after the 2-minute warning. Put them up 19-18. One of my friends said, "Oh yeah, CJ Stroud is him." I'm like, "That's cool. That's great." But I hope they're going to learn from this lesson, because this game's not over, and I get the feeling that this is going to be a learning lesson instead of a W. And sure enough, Young Wei Q made me correct, because this team has a lot of good pieces, but they still have to learn how to win, and I'm okay with that. But you said it best. There's good pieces in place, and yes, I agree. Starting with D'Amico Ryans, and it looks like C.J. Stroud is another good piece now, and I can walk proud saying, yes, I root for the Texans. They're 2-3. Yeah, they took it on the chin this past Sunday. They did good. And I can only ask for better. And I can only ask for this. Because if you were to tell me in 5 weeks they'd be 2-3 and they actually would be competing in all but one game, I would laugh at your face. But that's exactly what's happened. Here we are. But yes, I'm proud of the Texans, but the Falcons, they did get the win. In fact, that puts them 3-0 at home. So they haven't lost at home yet. Now, for the Falcons, can they put together this effort on the road and beat John Robinson? Brother, keep being the beast that you are. Even though you didn't have a great game this past Sunday, I love seeing you run. I did in Texas. I'm loving seeing you run in the A. And that was this week's Game of the Week. And when we come back, we will touch on some things on the Gridiron Scoop that focuses on turf. What do I mean? Come on back. This is Total Football Talk.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready?
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition,
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pistol 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby!
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Papi J and Wise El Jefe, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure. Welcome back to Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham. I am Cole Johnson. And quickly to the chat, and Sick asked the question, here's a thought, Drew and Cole. Which teams in either conference will be the first to be started on the playoffs? Well, the answer to that question would be the current 0-5 Carolina Panthers. It's unfortunate. They just don't have the pieces, and Bryce Young is being used as a piñata. It's just not looking good for them. And it looks like it's not looking better for their future yet. Hopefully that will change, but I say it's the Panthers easily.
Yeah, that's a good question there, Sick. When it comes to this, though, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that right now it's gonna be the Patriots. Is the way they're losing.
I can't argue. Other than the record, I can't really argue against that. I mean, look, you played in the last 8 quarters. Your offense only manages a field goal. Yeah, I can't. There's the proper defense against that.
They're playing terrible right now, like absolutely terrible.
Yeah. I mean, if ever the term dumpster pelican fits, it definitely does the Patriots offense. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely atrocious. Well, let's get to the grind scoop. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell is saying the NFL could stage a game in yet another international location as early as next year. Now, Goodell spoke to a fan forum in London, which is, of course, hosting 3 games. 2 of them has already been played. There will be another one that will be played next week. We will talk about that later. And, of course, the slate switches to Germany for 2 games next month. The league recently confirmed that the cities in Spain and Brazil are under review as potential hosts in the future. Now, Goodell had this to say about the potential sites going elsewhere besides Germany and Great Britain. Quote, I do see us playing in more markets very soon, as early as next year. We actually have 3 or 4 markets that are here this weekend and next weekend that are interested in hosting a game. Close quote. Now, my question to you, sir, is the following. Should the game, or should the NFL game, continue to expand beyond American borders?
It is having some success in London. I mean, it is getting more eyes on it there. But outside of London, where else could we really see this be? I mean, I really haven't seen much success outside of that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just how I feel when it comes to that right there. I mean, if you're going to put one in London because the amount of times they're already playing there, I don't have a problem with that. But I mean, other than that, where else would you put it? And you can't just put it in one other country. I mean, that makes no sense. You can't have all 32 teams in the NFL in the US and then like 1 or 2 in different countries. I mean, I feel like you got to spread it out a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. The only other candidate would be Mexico, but the problem there, field. The last couple of times they tried to play there, one game actually got straight up moved, and the other game they actually had to quickly change the turf and resod the field before they actually put on the game. So I would say that England is probably the best partner for the NFL. The second best partner for them is Mexico at the moment. Simply because they want to take advantage, of course, of the Cowboys fandom down there, because there's a lot of Cowboys fans in Mexico. So I know that's why they would want to play there. And then if they want to play in Canada, they can, but they might dip too much into what the CFL does. But yeah, I would say besides Great Britain and Mexico, and yes, Germany's good, yes, but let's be honest, they pale in comparison to anything that England has. Those are the two, and every other country is a distant third. Every other country is a distant third. But we shall see.
No, definitely good question. Definitely good question, though.
Yeah, but thank you. Well, obviously the NFL wants to expand, and looks like there's no signs of slowing down for them. Kudos to them for that. Now, speaking of one of those games in London, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was at the centerpiece of the 25-20 victory of the Jaguars over the Bills, but it also drew the ire of some Bills players, as of course one of their players is out for the year because of the turf. And the veteran Ryan O'Halloran of the Buffalo News had this to say about the turf. Quote, "Now, we came all the way over to London to play on cement." Now, Teron Johnson, cornerback for the Bills, he briefly left the game after banging his knee on the turf. And you had others who grumbled about it too, like offensive lineman Walker Little, and Deion Dawkins, defensive tackle Ed Oliver, edge rushers Leonard Floyd and Kingsley Jonathan, and then they lost their All-Pro linebacker Matt Milano for the year after fracturing his leg in injury. Now, my question to you is, of course, along with that, and definitely along with the Chubb injury, which really was not field related, really, and definitely the Aaron Rodgers injury. Will we ever get to have every NFL stadium go back to all grass surfaces?
We need to. We really do, because there's been too many injuries regarding artificial turf and the problems that come with the care of the artificial turf and being used and repurposed for other events other than football. I think that if you had an artificial turf for a stadium and that stadium was only used for football, you might not have as many issues. When you have other things like concerts and stuff going on in the same vicinity, you got vehicles driving all over the field, causing ruts, highly weighted equipment moving across. You still got to bring stages out there for people to perform on. All of this impacts. It's just like when you put furniture on carpet and when the furniture leaves imprints on the carpet, it's not going to be a straight, smooth surface as it was when you first got the carpet laid, is it? It's the same thing when it comes to AstroTurf. The grass is more forgiving in certain aspects, but at the same time, depending on whether, if it's weatherized, if it's condensed or whatever, and you drive over it, it's the same thing. You're going to have ruts. But I feel like it's easier to, as a grounds crew, to maintain that because you're working with natural ground and you can throw dirt and other stuff in there to fill stuff in to make it a smooth surface prior to the game, right? So there's different things that you can do as part of that. I think that it would be best for all professional teams, every professional team, not just football, but baseball, especially when you got metal cleats and stuff and all that stuff too, even though they wear shoes, the turf shoes when you have turf or whatnot. Same thing with football. It's just you don't get as good of a great footing on it. You see injuries like Aaron Rodgers' injury in the first game may not have transpired had it been taking place on a regular surface rather than AstroTurf or artificial surface or whatnot. And there's other injuries over the years. This isn't the first year we've seen this. This isn't the first year that we've talked about it, but it seems like we're having a spike in injuries on artificial surfaces than years prior. And if it's getting worse and we've got better technology now, you either need to figure out what the problem is or go back to having natural grass and ground for your playing style.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point, one of the reasons why the Titans changed from grass to turf was for that reason there. They also hold, they hold a festival every summer. And like you said, you are putting a stage onto that field. And of course, yeah, along with people walking on it, you have people driving on it too. So yeah, and then they also claimed that since we do experience 4 seasons here, that it was harder to maintain because the grass may look good in September, but it looks like hot garbage come December and January. And they may have to do things like what the Browns did in Cleveland Browns Stadium and paint dirt green.
I care less what it looks like in December, to be honest, as long as, our star players that we, if we're a fan in attendance going to watch it live, are paying to go see these players, and people bought season tickets and made purchases to plan for this 2023 season just for Aaron Rodgers in New York. You had Ryan McCarthy and others getting a hype about that because they're fans of the team and seeing what the progress is. People buying tickets and buying paraphernalia, jerseys, whatever it is. And this type of surface is causing the injuries to your star caliber players. It's not only going to hurt the team, but it's going to affect the league at some point when revenue, because those ticket sales or revenue sales for paraphernalia or apparel or whatnot would have been higher had your star players been playing at these certain times.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No question. No question. You're right. All that hype that the New York area had for 3 plays that counted and 1 that didn't. Yeah, and it's a shame. And they've had to resort to actually having Taylor Swift attend one of those games with the Jets in order to get the revenue that they really thought they were going to receive with an Aaron Rodgers led Jets. Oh well. 6 says the NHL or the NBA, or I'll say are better at expanding overseas given the popularity of the sport. Well, yeah, hockey of course is bigger overseas, and NBA, basketball's getting bigger overseas by the year too. 6 says, well, okay, yeah, you got UK, Germany, and you got the Netherlands as well. They have history with the NFL league, NFL Europe. True. And I think it could work there, but when it comes to just straight overall interest, I still say it is Great Britain and Mexico, and every other country is a distant third. Including Canada, who probably understands the sport just as well as Americans do, more than any other. And now, of course, Brits are now understanding the sport better too. But still, I will still put Britain and Mexico over every other country. 6 says many stadiums in Europe are multi-purpose, which is true. Certain soccer stadiums are also used for track and field competitions. That is correct. And he talked about the stadium in question. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in North London is a multi-purpose stadium. I'll touch on that in a second. He says also another example is Wembley Stadium to Tottenham. So the NFL was proud to show this clip of when they were wheeling out the grass portion of the soccer stadium level with in Tottenham, and then they were rolling out the carpet for setting up the NFL game they just played this Sunday. And you could have seen it, you could have knocked people over with feathers in seeing the harsh responses that were in that were in the responding portions of this Instagram not real, but basically this film that I saw. They were like, huh, so you mean to tell me they roll out the grass to have them play on the carpet? Oh, how that sucks. Oh, that's great job. And you're getting to that. And I'm thinking you're starting to get more of a groundswell of many fans to saying, yeah, switch all these bad boys to grass. Please switch all the grass. And I'm understanding why, because I would feel the same. And Drew could not have said it any better. We just said it. A team all season was like, yes, we can't wait until the 2023 season gets here. And it's a dud for them because the turf messed up a guy's Achilles. Fast forward to Sunday. You had Travis Kelce in similar turf, went down, tweaked his ankle, non-contact. I mean, that's an issue. And it's going to become an issue, and it's going to still be an issue. But with these owners, if they can make money and they can save a buck, we're still going to see these synthetic turfs still be reigning supreme. Ooh, sucks. On to happier news. It looks like the 49ers are getting the lion's share of the shade, but also the lion's share of the credit too, because after reaching the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row, now we are looking at 2 MVP candidates in Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. I would dare say a third with Nick Bosa, but he started off a little late. But of course, the odds of them winning the award, they are basically 5th and 6th, Purdy and McCaffrey respectively. There's of course others, and of course the usual suspects: Mahomes, Allen, Tua, and Jalen. So my question to you is, along with this talk with Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey being MVP candidates, as we are now in the second quarter of the 2023 season, who is your MVP frontrunner?
There's a lot of good players right now. They're doing a really great job. But if we were to compare the two teams, the Eagles and the 49ers, as far as who I feel like has the best MVP caliber player right now, Jalen Hurts is probably more of a MVP than Brock Purdy at this point for what he's done with the Eagles. Calvin Ridley has been tearing it up there in Jacksonville. It's I don't have Brock Purdy at the top, even in the top 3. So I would say your choice of 5th and 6th for him and McCaffrey is spot on.
Yeah.
I think just based on the demeanor and play of the Eagles and the leadership from the top in Jalen Hurts, I have to give it to him at this point through the first 5 weeks.
I'm thinking it's looking like that thus far. Because to me, I put it out there like this, especially with people who have won the award, this would fall under the category of Mahomes, who's the defending MVP. Unless he has a spectacular year and everybody else had good years now for him, more than likely the NFL is going to look for somebody else to award this designation to. And so for me, coming in this year I thought it was going to be between Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts. I thought it was going to be one of those 3. Well, we know it's not going to be Burrow because unfortunately he tweaked his calf in July and he is still suffering from it now 2.5 months later. Allen has been up and down. He's had a pretty good run until this past Sunday, but Jalen Hurts has been steady. He hasn't been spectacular, but he's been steady. And that's all you really can ask. And the only other candidate, the only other 2 candidates to me that I think have a chance to say, wait, not so fast, would either be Tua Tagovailoa or Tyreek Hill. Besides those 2, I agree with you. I think it is leaning to me toward Jalen Hurts. Because I think this year is tailor-made for him to have an MVP season. I agree with you.
Yeah, because he got robbed last year. I mean, we've been talking about that, in several cases throughout the offseason or whatnot, that people think that he got burned for Mahomes. And that could be an arguable case. I wanted to say Tua, and I wanted to say Tyreek Hill, especially with the video game numbers Tyreek Hill's putting up as a receiver.
Right.
But if they were undefeated, and there were certain other elements at bay, I would be leaning more towards giving it to them.
I feel you.
But right now, because the Eagles are undefeated, they are the reigning NFC champions, and they're still playing at the caliber level. Because a lot of times when you're at that top of the mountain, whether you're 1 or 2 at the end, competing in a Super Bowl, you kind of fall off the next year. We are seeing the Eagles picking up right where they left off last year. And for that, it all starts with the leadership for me, and I have to give it to Hurts for that one.
And I can't argue with you on that. I cannot argue that point at all. And I agree with you. I think to me, the front runner is Hurts. And I can't see him ruining it. The only way I think he could would be if he injured himself. Outside of that, he's the front runner. 6 says he used Grassmaster, a hybrid grass for soccer games at Tottenham. think that's what they might have to go with in football. They need probably either do that or straight grass, because I think that's what they have to do. Our brother, Wise El Jefe, stuck in my mind. He does. He says his guest didn't show up. He says, hello, my brothers. Hello to you, my brother. Hope everything is well with you. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear your guest didn't show, but we're glad you're here, man. Yeah. Because it is awesome to have you here, as always, my man. Well, that takes care of the Gridiron Scoop. What comes up next? Oh, that's right.
Total Football Talk.
Oh, yeah. Where are my dogs at? It's time to award the grand champ. It's time to award the grand champ for week 5 of the 2023 season. And we will get this party started with Drew's grand champ.
Even though this transpired against my team, I have to give it up to DJ Moore for 8 receptions and 230 receiving yards in that game. I mean, there was a great play out of Tyreek Hill this week and the other quarterbacks throughout the league that contribute besides wide receiver stats, but when it comes to this right here, to put up Madden like video game numbers for only 8 receptions, you see 230 yards and you're thinking the man had 18, 19, 20 catches. He only had 8 and had 3 touchdowns that means that 5 receptions out of those 8 didn't account for a touchdown. 3 of the 8 did. That's almost amazing. You almost had half of your receptions turn into scores. So 230 yards by DJ Moore, 3 touchdowns on 8 receptions. That is my dog of the week.
Can't argue with that one. And DJ Moore had a game. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Mine is going to probably be a little different. Now, I actually was thinking about awarding it to Jalen Hurts, but I was like, no, not yet. Then I actually thought about awarding it to Brock Purdy, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to award it to him. I'm actually going to award it to Breece Hall. And why? Because it was on this same field at this time last year where he did do damage, but he ended up messing himself up and got injured on the field, and he was out for the year. And he got back on that horse, went back to that stadium. He put forth 177 yards on 22 carries and had a wonderful touchdown run to actually cement his status being back as the guy toting the rock for the Jets. And all I can say to that is, man, I hope you know that the grind that you put forth in the rehab portion of your comeback, I hope you now know it's well worth it. I hope you can look in the mirror and say, I did this. I put forth the work and now it's paying off. And you deserve it, my man. You persevered. You battled through. You a tough dude. And look at the rewards, my man. Congratulations, Breece. You are a straight up true dog. And that's what we appreciate around here. We'll be right back.
Coming up next, the featured attractions. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated. Creating content magic in the real world.
Yeah. But hey, that was last year. And what did he do? He was out.
Right. And now he's in.
But he's been out for an entire year. It's not, you can't think he's going to make the same impact that he did before he was suspended.
I'm telling you, he won't have to.
See how he's going to keep his phone down and not make bets?
Come
on, man.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. $, D Willie 87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie the Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen, stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
If you're looking for a sports program that gives you the flavor.
Washington Commanders? Really?
This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
That pulls no punches.
Thuggish act by a thuggish actor.
That gives you some humor.
Praise everything LeBron does and never criticize it.
If you want a show that gives you good times, then this is that show. BS3 Network proudly presents.
I am Cole Johnson, and welcome to
Cole Sports with a Z. Every Friday on Patreon, and every Saturday on YouTube, Spreaker, and all other outlets.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham being Bobby Boucher. I am Cole Johnson. And to the feedback zone we go. Sick, loving the beginning of Grand Champion. Says, nice intro. I have a soft spot for Rottweilers. And I do too. I love Rottweilers. Always have, always will. And that was the part that drew me into it when Drew actually said, yeah, we need to award a dog, every week. I was like, okay, cool. And so I look for a Rottweiler, and that video was just spot on. Still love it. It gets me in the mood every time I see it. Oh, speaking of moods. Now we have come to the featured attractions portion of this program, where we highlight 3 games of the upcoming week that you should pay attention to viewing. The first one will be the Colts and the Jaguars. The reason being is that both these teams played in week 1. They play again, this time in Jacksonville, because they played in Indy in week 1. Both teams are 3-2. The Jags had the tiebreaker advantage over the Colts due to the 31-21 victory over them in Indy. The kickoff is at 1. The Jaguars are home favorites by 5. Now, for the Colts, I will ask this. Anthony Richardson, he went down, and more than likely he will be out for a month because he fell on his throwing shoulder. Is this team better with him or the man you call Uncle Rico in Gardner Minshew II? And you were muted, sir.
Oh, I don't know how I was muted, but when it comes to this situation with Uncle Rico and Anthony Richardson, the proof's in the pudding. We have seen the production from Uncle Rico this season. He has been showing up straight off the set of Napoleon Dynamite 2. It's not even in production. I just made that up, but somewhere out there, he has come off the set. And he is ready to play, as he has been playing in cleanup duty and getting those dubs for the Colts.
Man,
Uncle Rico shows up this upcoming week as a starting quarterback, they're going to lose, because every time he comes in for cleanup duty off the bench, they win. But if he starts the game, they will lose. That is my prediction. Uncle Rico starts, the Colts lose. Comes off the bench, they will win. He is the savior when he comes off the bench, but not as a starter. That's my prediction.
So to paraphrase the Betty White song, he's the cleanup man. Got you. Uncle Rico. Calling the grown man Uncle Rico. All right. For the Jags, we saw that they took it on the chin to the Chiefs 17-9 at home, and then at home they simply just screwed the pooch and lost 37-17. But then they traveled to London and they have a convincing victory over the Falcons, a convincing victory over slightly less, but still a convincing victory over the Bills. Have the Jags turned the corner after their London vacation?
I would think so, especially with the way that they turned, the way that they came out with victory last week. I mean, we cannot say this about the Bengals. We already went hardcore on that just a few moments ago, but I will say right here, when it comes for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I feel like they have turned the page, and that we're going to see a little bit more positive production from them the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So you already predicted since Minshew's starting, you're picking the Jags. It's not necessarily because Minshew's starting. I just think the Jags have the Colts number, and I will pick them as well because remember, the Colts 2 years ago had to go to Jacksonville to clinch a playoff spot, and they just didn't have it. They just simply didn't have it. But yeah, so I picked the Jags as well. So I think they're going to go to 4-2 and lead, and they will end up leading the AFC South, where I believe that's where they should be anyway. Turning our attention to another 1 p.m. kickoff, which the Colts of the Jaguars is a 1 p.m. kick on Sunday. Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff between the Lions and the Buccaneers. The Lions are 4-1. The Buccaneers are 3-1. The Lions are road favorites by 3. We will start with the Lions. Now, after their L against the Seahawks, they have turned it on. They have beaten the Falcons. They have beaten the Panthers. And great, I'm blanking as to the third team they whooped. I'm sorry. They traveled to Lambeau and beat up and beat down the Packers. How I can forget that? 34-20. Is it time now to place the Lions underneath, not necessarily along with, but underneath the 49ers and Eagles as NFC contenders?
That was a really good question. And when I think about it, as I've looked at the slate and think about it a little bit more, it's tough to answer that question because every time I seem to start throwing more positivity at this team right here, they let me down. Overall, over the past few seasons, they've been on the come up, and they've been doing a great job of establishing themselves under this new coach with Dan Campbell. I have to give them that.
Mm-hmm.
But putting them up there with the 49ers and the Eagles, I'm not quite ready to putting them at like the third team in the NFC quite yet. They're up there as far as great teams. I maybe would say 5.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe 4. Because if you're a division winner, you're in the top 4. So right. I will give them 4. But I'm not quite ready to put them up there at 3 yet. It's just a feeling that I have when it comes to this team right here. You know, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I feel like the hype around Bunker Stayfield is going to end this weekend right here because, yeah, you're doing a great job, Bunker. You took over Tom Brady's team. All they did was literally swap you and him out. Now, you are not on what TB12's level was, especially back 3 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. You are on Bunker Stayfield level, and you are eventually going to get exposed this year, and it's going to happen this weekend against the Lions, as the Lions will come out of this game 5-1, and the Bunker Stayfield-led Buccaneers will be 3-2.
Bunker Stayfield.
Stop it. Get some help.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of Bunker Stayfield or Baker Mayfield, what does he have to do? What does he bring to the Bucs? I mean, seemingly he definitely is not Tom Brady, but for some reason they seem to respond to him positively. So what quality or what qualities does he bring to the team?
I think the biggest difference that he brings to the team that Tom Brady didn't have is his mobility. Like, he's mobile, right? Yeah. Like, he can move around, get outside of the pocket. Tom Brady was literally like a statue of Brady. Not a statue of Brady, a statue of Liberty in there. It's just standing in the pocket. And I guess we can call him the statue of Brady. We'll just change that. Statue of Brady. That's literally what he was out there on those fields. But Baker Mayfield, definitely you can tell the difference between having the quarterback of old and this quarterback of new. He has improved. I will give him that, but he is still on Bunker Stayfield status. And until this team shows me something otherwise, he's Bunker Stayfield in my book.
Oh my goodness, Bunker Stayfield. Well, you picked the Lions. I also picked them too. I think they'll go to 5-1. I think this will be a good test for them. Although I don't really consider the Bucs being that team. I still think it's a good test for them because they can actually say we have a win on the road against a winning team, and it is scary. You have to understand one of those division winners has to come from the NFC South.
And it's going to be a tight one there when it comes to the top two of that division to determine who it is that's going. I really like the Lions, though. I just really like the Lions.
I do too. I'm liking them more and more actually by the week. Mickey, how you doing, brother? I'm glad to see you. He says, afternoon, my brother Cole and Drew Willingham. How you both? I'm doing good, bro.
Doing great, Mick. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. So we talked about two games that kick off Sunday at 1. All right, let's talk about the game that kicks off Monday night, 8:15. I'm sorry, all times Eastern. I should say that. 8:15 kick between the Cowboys and the Chargers. The Chargers are 2-2. The Cowboys are 3-2. The Cowboys, even after the 32-point butt whooping they took in Santa Clara in Northern California, they are 2-point favorites on the road. Speaking of which, so the defense, I said, is Super Bowl caliber. And yes, you would say, well, you say that, and the 49ers just ran roughshod all over the Cowboys. True. Sometimes you just have a bad day at the office. But that offense does not help them out. They do not do the Cowboys any favors at all whatsoever. Can the 2023 Cowboys offense be as potent as their defense?
No. That's
what's going to keep them back.
And I'm not throwing any more hype on this team potentially ever again. No matter how good they get, especially after last week. So when I think about all this, their defense still is fairly decent, but even to lose the game that you lost, if you were as great of a defense as you were, you wouldn't have given up and lost by 32 points.
32 points.
So nearly 5 touchdowns almost is what you lost by, and you're supposed to be this stellar defense in the league. I don't know, man. I have a lot of reservations about this team now more than ever based on the way that they lost this past weekend. Because if you have the caliber defense that you supposedly have, you should have – I expected you to maybe, if you did lose, it was going to be respectable. You got absolutely smacked. Like all the hype that was on you is drained out like a hot air balloon at this point. You are completely deflated. In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. I 100% agree. And I also agree with your assessment. That offense this year can nowhere near be as potent as their defense. And yes, it's hard to actually say the defense is actually going to carry them through, considering that they played, to me, the best team in the league, and they couldn't stop a cold that night. So I understand. I totally understand it. But that offense does them no favors. Now, on the other end, the Chargers started off slow, but they have won their last 2 before their bye. All right, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I'll just come out and ask. Are the Chargers at 500 because of or despite Brandon Staley, and why?
They are in despite of what he has been doing. This team has got talented individuals throughout the team. They are no slouch of a team, but you and I have even discussed throughout the month and a half we've had this show on the air of the question marks surrounding the head coaching for San Diego, not San Diego, you know what I'm saying, Los Angeles. But for the Chargers team, Yeah, exactly. And it's all Staley's fault when they're not there. No, I'm just kidding. But thinking of the overall play and the demeanor of this team, it would be much improved if they had better leadership at the top. I mean, we are talking about your team earlier in the Houston Texans, how a change in leadership and at the quarterback position, those two right there have brought a huge spark to this team in the 2023 season.
Yes.
That's all they need. And Brandon Staley is not it there.
No.
So that's the reason why I feel like they are playing good in spite of what's going on, because they're not trying to tank the season and go for a top 5 pick like the Patriots obviously are at this point from what it looks like. Like, they're not trying to do that. And the players want to win in spite of how bad their coach is. So that's how I feel about that situation right there. It has nothing to do with the coaching of why they are 500.
I agree. You got a lot of talent, and I believe they are fighting the coaching to actually get the results that they need to get, because the team is that talented, but they are hampered by the coaching, and I totally agree with you 100% there. All right, so who's going to win this Monday night tilt between the Chargers, or I should say between the Cowboys and the Chargers?
Between the Cowboys and the Chargers, I want to pick one way, but then I picked that way last week, and we saw what happened the other night. So, I'm afraid to make a choice here, Cole, to be honest, because I feel like no matter which team we pick, the other team's going to win in spite of us. So, just for good measure, and we'll say the players did it again, I'm going to go with the Chargers winning this game. Just to play
I love your logic. I love your logic. Before I make my pick, I want to actually say this, and I'm saying this straight up in love. To Drew, who's a Commanders fan, to Cool McCain, who's an Eagles fan, and to Wiser Lefe, who's a Giants fan. The fact that you all were rooting for the Cowboys to beat the 49ers this past Sunday, you all should turn in your respective teams' cards. I just don't understand why you would root for the team that more than likely most of your fan base will say is the most hated rival even in your own division. And I just do not get, well, I do in some regret, in some respects, but in most respects, I do not get why you're like, yeah, we want to see the Cowboys win. I'm like, what? I'm sorry.
Hang on. I don't. Well, yeah, I did say it that way, and it was because of the emotional fan base of the 49ers. That was my argument. I did not say it because I just wanted to see the Cowboys win. All of a sudden. Had nothing to do with that. Had everything to do with the egotistical fans of the 49ers fan base. That is why I picked. And Kyle Nash and I talked about this even later that night when you and I talked about this on that show. We had in or out, and he was on last week. After the show, we talked for like an hour or so, and I was like, hey, if you go back and watch Show Football Talk, I did not talk about you as part of that 49ers fan base because he is a fan. I said, you even were there. I was like, everybody except Kyle Nash. So, and he understood it. But hey, when it comes to this, I'll even admit I was a little emotionally charged on that statement right there. But I still stand firm in my belief that they are taking it too far. And some of these people that are wearing their paraphernalia, like I'll wear my 49ers, not 49ers. I'll wear my formerly known as the REDSKINS tattoo every single day of the week, especially when I'm off the air and I'm back in the tank top or cut off sleeves. I'll wear that proud. There's people out there that when the 49ers had Alex Smith at his worst and they weren't playing around, I bet you never saw them wear a 49ers hat or acknowledge it. They were going to probably acknowledge what their baseball team of the week was when that team was playing good and then moving around from team to team, or basketball. So not focusing on football. 49ers fans are similar to Patriots fans in this aspect Before the year 2000.
Gosh, Patriots fans in 2000s were ridiculous.
Before the year 2000, did we have many Patriots fans rocking Drew Bledsoe's jerseys around? No, not really.
No.
Not until after they became famous.
Yeah.
And now you see more jerseys, 49ers, people trying to get the I saw somebody the other day trying to rock a Jerry Rice jersey, and he was like maybe 17 years old. I was like, there's no way you've been growing up your entire life a Jerry Rice jersey. That's either your dad's or you just got on the bandwagon within the past few years and found that retro jersey to put on to make you stuff look cool, rocking the retro stuff. So that's how I feel about it when it comes to this right here in this game. That's why I had to go with the Chargers because of what the 49ers did to them this past week.
Yeah, well, to put it in perspective, Jerry Rice retired before that dude was born. So, I mean, hey. I think that and I'm not doing this because I root for him. I think I'm gonna pick the Chargers the Cowboys because I think they're gonna bounce back, and I think their defense is actually going to play better because I don't think they're going to have to deal with as much of an offensive headache. Not saying they're not going to deal with an offensive headache because Justin Herbert is a bad dude, but I don't think they're going to deal with as much of an offensive headache. Now, does it mean that I want them to win? No, not on your life. But I think that's how little faith I have. That's how much faith I have in Brandon Staley, which is none. It's horrible. Mickey, thank you for sharing the show. I appreciate that, brother.
Thank you.
I should say Drew and I appreciate that. And Six says, yeah, with the 49ers visiting the Browns, there won't be any happy endings.
No R&Ts. No R&Ts.
We'll be right back after this. Oh my. Oh my.
Next, the chopping block and snowflake of the week. This is Total Football Talk. Join Ryan McCarthy.
I became a Jets fan because Kurt the Frog was my favorite Muppet because he was green, and the Jets wore green. That's how I became a Jets fan.
And Dustin Henry.
ESPN is cashing all in on let's pay a few personalities and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps.
As they walk you through all of the world of sports from their perspective.
The Albany Empire, it's a literal circus.
No credentials required. Where, Ryan, say the tag.
Where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. On YouTube and where you can find all podcasts. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central. Football, and more football, you say? Well, tune in to Total Football Talk. Join your hosts, Drew Willingham.
You were playing like a dumpster Pelican quarterback.
And Cole Johnson.
It sets up a possible play action. Did you hear that, Dak Prescott?
As they take you through all the paces, both on the field and in the boardroom, of Total Football Talk. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the Surtoba Media and the Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channel.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham. I am Cole Johnson. And, well, we're enjoying this. And thank you for giving us the love. Thank you for sharing this show. Thank you for subscribing to our networks and YouTube channels of Surtoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated. We appreciate that. And with that, we have to put some individuals on the chopping block. Jarrell, or Jerry Jones, but I call him Jarrell. He is standing by his man. Stand by your man. I'm sorry. He is standing by his man, saying that he still believes Dak Prescott can take them to the Super Bowl. Yes, you heard the right words. You heard those words that came out of my mouth. He believes that Dak Prescott can take the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. With the owners, general managers, head cheerleaders, head concession stand seller, head salesman, head promo guy, the true head football coach, and number one fan of all designations. Jarrell's weekly appearance on 105.3 The Fan came days after the Cowboys were stomped out on national television Sunday night by the 49ers in a rout 42-10. Of course, that quarterback in question, Prescott, he threw for 153 yards, was sacked 3 times, threw a touchdown, and threw 3 picks. On that weekly appearance on 105.3 The Fan, Mr. Jones said, quote, Dak Prescott is a quarterback that can take us to the Super Bowl, and that's the way that's going to be. I want to be real clear. Dak's very capable of making this team be where we want it to go. We should recognize that we had a very bad outing, and San Francisco had a very good outing. But as far as sitting here saying that we should completely change out the tiles here, that's not even in the cards, and it's really ridiculous. Close quote. The only question I have to ask you is this. Why hasn't anybody admitted Jarrell to the Shady Acres retirement community?
Well, I got to bring in some special inspiration for this take. When it comes to this right here, I feel like it's time to bring someone out of retirement. And that's Matlock. Matlock needs to confront Jarrell and say, you have absolutely lost your mother, father, and mind. And the only person that can get through to Jarrell is Matlock. Matlock can storm into that room with his suit on, do his little strut, and get up in Jerry's face, or Jarrell, my bad, and tell him, you are a fanboy of this team. You are not running it properly. You have turned into Al Davis of the NFL when it comes to older people doing a terrible job. It is time to get Matlock and bring him on in and have this conversation with Jarrell and be the next NFL owner ousted out of the NFL.
I'm Cole Johnson. I approve this message. Cowboys fan extraordinaire V like A3 says Dak Prescott played like a pterodon-sized dumpster pelican. And Sick asks, is Jerry Jones that senile? Unfortunately. And I really wish I want to say he's not. I really do. But come on, Jarrell. You see it with your own, well, you might see it through your son's eyes now. I don't know. But come on, man. Dak Prescott's not the guy. He's worse than the one you had to precede him. Really? Oh, my gosh. Sad, 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 sad.
Hey. Who's giving them the business?
Now, we touched on Bill Belichick, and I would talk about him, but we'll eschew that for this. So 5 days ago, my partner was looking forward to the Commanders mollywopping the Bears. And unfortunately, they got mollywopped. So in the aftermath of it all, part owner of the Washington Commanders, Magic Johnson, took to Twitter I'm sorry, wrong name, took to X. And he criticized Coach Ron Rivera's team, and he said they were playing with no intensity or fire in the 40-20 loss. And he said the latest poor showing for the Commanders in front of national primetime audience was too much for some of the home fans to take, apparently. And he also came appropriately with a soundtrack to boos. In the fourth quarter, a team chant of the old name, "Let's go," broke out. Or I would say, "Let's go slur. Let's go slur." I'm sorry. Now, credit to Ron Rivera, he said that it starts at the top, and that L was on him. But the criticism of Magic is where I want to center this question. Do you agree with him in the overall assessment of that game and possibly the overall direction of the Commanders as we are going into week 6 of this year?
Oh, 100%. And when you look at when Ron Rivera is getting interviewed just before halftime, it was either just before halftime or right after halftime. Can't remember. It was right afterwards because they asked what happened in the locker room. So right after halftime, Ron Rivera is getting interviewed before he gets back on the field and pretty much asked, what type of motivation, what type of speech you guys have, what type of energy was going in the locker room, how'd you handle, the deficit pretty much going on at halftime. I don't remember the exact question, but I know the reaction. And the reaction basically was this: "Oh, I just let them handle it themselves. I let them talk about it amongst themselves." What kind of coaching? When you are getting mollywopped like you have been in that game and in the game prior, not really the game prior because you lost respect to the Eagles.
Yeah, 2 games prior.
But you lost disrespectfully to the Buffalo Bills as well. Okay. So this is 2 games out of 5 where you've been embarrassed. Okay.
And 2 out of the last 3.
Yeah, it's not as bad as the Patriots and some other teams, but against the team that we've been talking about in a negative fashion for at least the first 3 weeks of the season, that is the Chicago Bears, had a 14-game losing streak up until this point.
That game, yeah.
Yeah, and you give it up. So when you think about all that coming into this game, the only thing that I feel like, unless the NFL script is true, Cole, because it is pretty ironic that they lost 14 straight games. Dick Butkus passes away on the same day, and then ironically, a little bit of was done to change the script, and then we have the Bears not only winning, but winning over the Commanders by a field goal or so it's going to look like it was scripted. No, we have to win convincingly. So Commanders, before you go out there for the first quarter, just to let you know, you need to suck today, but let Sam Howell look good so that way he doesn't lose his starting job. That could be potentially part of this is NFL scripted, or it could just be bad energy coming from the coaching at the top because Ronald Eugene Rivera has seemed like he has checked out now for the past few weeks. This entire offseason, Darrell and I were talking about this yesterday on CGR. This entire offseason, Ron Rivera was all hype, was all excited about this new ownership and this new season. Over the course of the past 2 to 3 weeks, he seems to have bits of fake rage. Even when he's having rage, it doesn't really seem like it's 100% organic. It feels like it's forced. Because if you don't do it, then you're going to get fired during the season. But this interview right there after halftime did not help his cause because it completely went 180'd, as you just admitted that you didn't even stand up for the team at halftime to have a conversation to try to lead them in the right direction. All you did was let them talk about it amongst themselves. No, not even your best captain can fix that situation right now.
I did not know that it was a coach-induced players-only meeting at halftime. Goodness gracious. Come on, Ron. You know better than that. You played in the league. You know better.
And people want to 100% give the blame on Jack Del Rio. I don't, because Ron Rivera was a defensive coordinator before he was a head coach and a defensive coordinator for many years. And on top of that, he played several seasons on the defensive side of football.
Yes.
So when you think about defensive playing experience and then defensive coaching experience, your strongest suit on your team should be your defense. And it's not. You've got great players on the defense, that
do.
have names like Chase Young and Montez Sweat on the top of that list. But
Right.
they're not even contributing what they normally would because of the type of leadership they've got at the top of that whole thing. So when your offense is outdoing your defense and you're primarily known for your defensive specialties, there's huge red flags around that, in my opinion. It is time, whether it's during the season or once the season is over, Ron Rivera needs to be away from coaching this team altogether. If you want to leave him in the front office to do some type of things administratively, I'm okay with that because of what he means to the game of football, with what he's meant to this team, because he's been a part of it since all the culture change and all the wild stuff with the name and helped come up with a new name. I'm okay with him working in the office, but leading the team, I've had some reservations with for the past couple of seasons, and I'm being more vocal about it now than ever.
I'm thinking the handwriting's on the wall, and I'm thinking he's trying to position himself for that, similar to that of Bruce Arians of the Bucks,
Yes.
where he was on the sidelines and then he decided to be a consultant and went up to the booth. I'm thinking that's what he's trying to transition to, like you said, and you've said this a few weeks, not just on here, but on Commander's Gridiron Report, or every Monday, 3:05 Eastern, 2:05 Central, Sartoga Media, YouTube channel. He's looking for an executive position, and I think he's greasing the wheels for it to be an easy transition. And I think that, to me, I actually think it started when they brought in Eric Bieniemy as the assistant head coach. So, and the fact that the offense seems to get more traction than the defense in terms of power and in terms of production, I agree with you. That is a problem, considering that, like you said, Rivera specialist defense, since he was a linebacker when he played, and he's been a defense coordinator for many years and for a couple different teams before he was a head coach of the Panthers, and long before he was a head coach of the Commanders. Yes, that is a problem. That is a problem. Mickey Delaney says, "Look, Jerry, slow your roll and stay in your lane." Yeah, I can't disagree one single syllable out of that, Mickey. Six says, "Nobody needs to see Jerry Jones in a leisure suit." But they probably did about 40 to 50 years ago. That's a scary thought. Mickey says, "Jerry, get off the weed, please." Six says, I'm sorry, V like A3 says, "Yes, sick. Yes, he is," talking about Gerald. And as I told my friend after the game, Gerald doesn't care about winning games or titles. All he cares about is being in the news. I could not say that better. And that's coming from a from a Cowboys fan. So that should tell you something when a Cowboys fan is saying that.
Yes.
Ugh. Well, I think we've chopped enough people of the Cowboys and the Commanders organization. Boy. They may not like us now, but oh well.
Total Football Talk.
No, it's not the holiday season yet, but it is time to award this week's Snowflake of the Week. And Drew, who is your snowflake this week?
This is my favorite segment of this entire show. Why? Because we get to expose the snowflake of the week. And on this particular episode, all the hype that was given to this kid to give him the keys to the team. You kick out a legend. The legend goes down. The legend does not play anymore this year. Yet this kid gets the keys to the castle. And what does this kid do on a prime time game on Monday Night Football? He lays an egg, Cole. He laid an egg with not only one, not only two, but you were in position to win the game at the end by only being down by 4 points. And you threw a third interception. I just cannot express enough how much of a snowflake this kid is for throwing 3 interceptions prime time against Jimmy G, who's been falling apart as of late as well for the Raiders. And if you haven't guessed by now, I'm giving my Snowflake of the Week to Jordan Love of the Packers. It is time to acknowledge that he is a snowflake. And for that, I'm going to give it...
Acknowledge me.
Followed by a...
Yeah.
And when it comes to his play last night...
That's terrible.
Absolutely, because I can't watch it. If you are a fan of this team or the Raiders, you should have been snoozing. You shouldn't have set an alarm to watch the end of the game because you didn't miss anything. All you did was miss not one, but two, but three interceptions. It's time to give up hope on this kid. He threw 3 interceptions. I've had enough. It's time for the Snowflake of the Week, my pick being Jordan Love.
Oh my gosh. It's time to acknowledge that he's a snowflake. That is just that's some brilliant, that's some brilliance right there. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to focus on the Sunday night game. And I have my pick of the litter. And I was going to award it to Dak Prescott because he had the audacity to believe that a reporter asked him in the 38-3 victory over the Patriots last Sunday. So, have you been thinking about the game that eliminated you from the playoffs this past year against the same team you're going up against Sunday? And Dak had the nerve to say, well, thank you for giving me the extra motivation, and huffed off. Well, you did a great job. 150 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. But no, you're not the guy. No. Your teammate, who's supposed to be the defensive leader and the best player on the team, gets it. Yes, I'm looking at you, number 11. I'm looking at you, Micah Parsons. Why? Because not only did you only have 2 quarterback hurries, no sacks, no pass defenses, barely a couple of tackles, but you had to go ham on your podcast and actually intimate, quote, the 49ers aren't higher than us, close quote. Buddy,
Let me talk to you.
You stunk.
What?
You put crap on the field.
What?
You boo-boo.
What?
Dung.
What?
Compost.
What?
I mean, it was ridiculous. You laid, I would say you laid an egg, but you all laid so many eggs by yourselves that you could actually have a chicken farm. It was ridiculous how you could say in a 32-point defeat that the team that you got finished getting whooped by is not higher than you. You all were looking like all these dumpster pelicans in this photo. How dare you out your mouth say the 49ers aren't higher than we are when they proved it on the field that you don't belong on there with them? Come on, brother. You got to do better than that. Please. I read that yesterday morning and it made me sick. Come on, man. You got to do better than that. And this is why people root against the Cowboys. I don't root against you all. I root against most of their fan base. But this is why they root against Cowboys, because you have these ridiculous takes like the fans do. You got to do better than that, bro. Nah. Take that defeat. Own it. Say it. The 49ers own the Cowboys. Say it, son. Because they do. They own you. You can say otherwise, but until you beat them in January for sure, the 49ers own you. The Scarlet and Gold, they own you. Point blank, period. They get out of my face, son.
The 2-minute drill is next. This is Total Football Talk. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets. Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Monday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern, 2:05 p.m. Central. Exclusively on the Sertoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool. Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze god.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to, I can beat up black people.
As he takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific Time Zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel.
That career space commercial gets me every time. Placenta Booty Johnson. It gets me every time.
Yeah.
I love that commercial and Chris Bass. He's a great guy. If you guys have not seen his content, please check him out on YouTube, Facebook, Fridays. I'm usually at work. I try to tune in when I can. If I'm not listening to it on the way home, so I have like a 45-minute drive. I love Chris Bass and stuff. It makes me laugh. Says some wild stuff. Brings you in on some cultural things and things outside of that as well. But the random stuff is sending them back to Hades. It comes out of his mouth, especially stuff that we've experienced with So Man in the Morning on Fridays. He has some great things that he says. Great guy out there in these streets.
I agree. Cannot argue that point at all. Love Chris Bass. Love him as a person. Love him as a content creator. Great guy, and learned a lot from him in the short time I've known him. We're now in the home stretch of Total Football Talk with Drew Willingham, a.k.a. Bobby Boucher. I am Cole Johnson. Love the jersey, by the way, sir. And
thank you. Wish app, $27.
Wish app, okay.
Back when it was a thing. I don't know if it still is, but I got this. This was before. It's like pre-pandemic. You know how we have like BC and AD? I refer to things now as pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Okay? This is a pre-pandemic Wish app. You ordered on Wish app, $27. It may take like 2.5 months to get to your house, but it gets there, and it's only $27. And it even says the water boy on it, and Boucher on the back, and and everything. It's got the details, even the Bourbon Bowl logo. It's good for $27 and 2.5 month wait.
Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. Okay. To the 2-minute drill we go. All right, and since we are now in the times where we have bye weeks and teams taking byes, this week the teams that are on byes, there's only 2: the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it's the Steelers and the Packers. They are on a bye this week.
Packers need it.
Yes, but the Packers needed off of their L. The Steelers probably needed 2 off of their win over the Ravens, as their games are always uber physical. Now, 2-minute drill is always the best of the rest as we go into week 6 of the 2023 NFL season. We start on the Thursday night slate. The Broncos go to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. 1-4 Broncos face off against the 4-1 Chiefs. The Chiefs are 10.5-point favorites. 8:15 p.m. kickoff Eastern, 7:15 in KC. Your picks are?
I'm picking the Chiefs. Broncos are going to get embarrassed again, and even worse because they're playing the Chiefs. If this game is anywhere competitively close, then the NFL script is alive and well.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, join along, as Mickey is joining along as well. He says the Chiefs are going to be winners in that. Yes, all in the chat, join along. Whatever you feel is going to be the team that's going to win the games that we run by, please let us know. He also says his snowflake of the week is the Commanders coach after the game telling the reporter his team was tireder.
What? I don't even remember that part. I think I might have cut the game off by that point. But yeah, they were tired, or maybe from the week prior when you played an actual good team and you went to overtime. I'll give it to you when you were gassed then. That's why you didn't go for 2. I'm still mad at you for not calling the timeout when you had a chance to ice Elliott. We talked about that last week. But my ultimate snowflake of the week, I'm not budging, Mick. I am not budging. Or Jordan Love, not 1, not 2, but let me give you a 3rd interception at the end of the game to just give you the game. You are the ultimate snowflake of the week, in my opinion.
Well, contenders for the snowflake of the league week this past week, the Baltimore Ravens wide receiving core. They take their talents along with the rest of the team to London, and they have a 9:30 a.m. kick there. Well, 1:30 in the PM in London, but 9:30 kickoff, 2:30. I'm sorry, 2:30 p.m. kickoff in London. 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. They take on the Titans 2-3. The Ravens are 3.5-point faves. Your picks are?
It's a good game. I think this is going to be a lot better of a contest between the Broncos and Chiefs, and here for the Ravens and Titans.
Yeah.
The Ravens are going to be feeling the sting of losing to the Steelers in this past week. I feel like they come out of this game winning. They'll be 4-2, and the Titans will be 2-4 by the end of this, which will make Cole Johnson a very happy person.
Yes, it will be. Yes, I definitely am rooting for I make no bones about it. I am rooting for the Ravens, and I believe, putting analyst hat on, I believe they actually will bounce back, and I think they will defeat the Titans, which will make them 2-4. I would love that. The Commanders are 2-3. They go to the A to play the Falcons. They are 3-2. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. in Atlanta. Falcons are 2.5-point favorites. Who do you have, sir?
Well, the Commanders are going to the A, but I feel like they're going to look like they're playing like A when they go out there on this field because of the way they lost. And yes, I'm going to say they're probably the 6th Pelican in the back. They're not quite in the top 5 yet of Dumpster Pelicans. The Commanders are 6th on the Dumpster Commander Pelican list. Dumpster Commander Pelican. I just came up with that. Dumpster Commander Pelican. Let's get that trending and go viral. Dumpster Commander Pelican. Yes, you guys need to get it together because what's going to happen is the Falcons are going to try to make you feel bad for letting go of Taylor Heineke. They're going to throw him in there for a series, and he's going to score a passing touchdown on you, similar in the light to when Michael Vick played the Falcons for the first time, and he had a passing and rushing touchdown in that first game back. But the difference is Taylor Heineke is not a criminal, and he's not coming back from a lengthy sentence. What he is coming back from is his time that he spent in the jail of the Commanders. And now he's with the Falcons. And he's not the starting quarterback, but they're going to find a way to get him in this game. I have a feeling they're going to beat the Commanders. As much as I want to be wrong, I saved this pick and didn't give it yesterday on the Commanders show for a reason. For here, because I feel like that this Falcons team is finally starting to get the gears going in the right direction. Arthur Smith has been doing a really good job as a coach, in my opinion. He just needed to get some of the other pieces together and everybody on the right page. It seems like it's clicking now. And if the Commanders didn't have Ron Rivera as their coach and it was Eric B. who was leading the way, I would be going the other way because I feel like we would be getting better results over the past couple of weeks had things already shifted that direction. But because it is the way it is right now, I'm going to go with the Falcons and say they win this game. It's going to be a tight one, but they're going to win it. It's going to be an ugly one.
Sig Dickey says, oh yeah, by the way, Drew earned his second-degree belt in Kinnison Alphabet 2 karate recently, hence his amped up tone at times. Called it beautifully, sir.
I would agree with that statement, except for it wasn't recently. I acquired this gift back in 1987 when a mother-father was born. I was born with this. That's how long it's been going. And yes, I have the high quality cover the label. But yes, I have high quality H2O right here.
Quality H2O. Oh Lord. Okay. Mickey picks the Ravens along with us. VLOC83 says the Commanders are about to destroy the Falcons. I don't think they're going to destroy them. I think it's going to be a close game, but I sort of agree with Drew. Although the chat disagrees with us because they're saying that they think the Commanders are going to win. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Falcons are going to pull it out.
I hope I'm wrong. But I don't want to be wrong again multiple weeks in a row. Especially I feel bad picking the Cowboys last week. I'm trying to make up for it.
Gosh. I would say I wouldn't let you live it down, but it looks like you won't let yourself live it down. The Vikings and the Bears, Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff. This is a clash of the Titans because the Vikings come in this game 1-4, and the Bears come into this game 1-4. The Vikings are the road favorites by 3. This game's at Soldier Field. Sunday kickoff is at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon in Chicago. What is your pick, sir?
I didn't have the Vikings being 1-4 coming into this game. If you would have asked me 6 weeks ago, this is wild. But I feel like they get the win here. The celebration for the Bears is over. They're going to have celebrated a little bit too much by the time they get back home in Chicago, and they're going to lose this game pretty decisively to the division rival being the Vikings.
Dang, I actually have to agree with you. I'm just not feeling the Bears. I'm not feeling the Bears at all. Look, the Vikings haven't been whooped yet. They've had these close losses. Close loss to the Bucks, close loss to the Eagles, close loss to the Chiefs, close loss to the Chargers. They haven't been. All of them have been by one score or less. So I think the Vikings are going to win because the Bears just are inconsistent and the team is in such turmoil and disarray. VLOC83 says that the Falcons have a bad knack of choking away leads. Heck, they almost choked away the lead they had against the Texans last week. So yeah, you got a point.
It's uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, Mickey says you are wrong, Drew. He says give me the Bears, and he says you're wrong with the Washington Atlanta pick. But yeah, he says in that game give him the Bears. Well, yeah, I just don't trust the Bears. I want to, but I just don't. Another Sunday 1 p.m. kickoff. The Bengals hosting the Seahawks, and it is 1 p.m. in Cincy for the kick. The Bengals are home faves by 3. Seahawks are 3-1. The Bengals are 2-3. Your choice, your pick, sir.
Seahawks. I can't say much more on the Bengals. You guys see our commercial. You know how I feel about that quarterback right now. My thoughts haven't changed. I'm going with the Seahawks being 4-1. Joe Burrow, dumpster Pelican. He's moved down the list. Let's say he's number 4 right now. He's not quite at the top 2 right now. He improved a little bit, so I got to move him down on the list. On this type of list, you want to come down on. You don't want to go up. He's been up there at the top couple on the list for the first few weeks. It's time to give him some love, bring him down a little bit. But he may work himself back up at the top of that list when the season's over.
The Seahawks overall are the better team. But I just get the feeling they're going to have one of those games where they just simply screw the pooch. I think this is one of those games. So give me the Bengals. And I'm not rooting for them. I'm just thinking the Seahawks will have one of their down moments. The Seahawks should win this game, but I think the Bengals will. Another Sunday 1 p.m. kick. This is in the Rust Belt between the Browns and the 5-0 49ers. The Browns are coming off their bye where they got their butts whooped by the Ravens at home 28-3. The 49ers are favored only by 4.5. Are you picking the Browns over the 49ers? That's what I thought. Sunday, 1 p.m. kick.
I'm afraid to at this point. All right, I'll say it this way.
Go ahead.
If the R&Ts happen before the game, they got a shot at becoming 3-2 and knocking the 49ers down to their first loss of the season. But the hype on this kid, Brock Purdy, is real. They proved me wrong last week, so... And, until they get a better matchup, which the Browns have definitely improved over the years, but they're not good enough to contend with the 49ers yet, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If it couldn't be done by the Cowboys with their hyped-up defense, it's not going to happen until that December 3rd game with the Eagles. I guess the Eagles will have a chance of finally doing it.
So I think what my partner is saying is, come here, girl. Give me that towel. Towel, girl. I said towel, not hands, not arms, not feet. There we go. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Oh, yeah. Oh, what am I doing? I'm trying to strengthen my arm and my shoulder. All while you watch. That you know you love to watch. You nosy heifer. Show you right. Show you. I can't. The shoulder's still messed up. That is what will happen. Oh my goodness. Yes, I picked the 49ers. I don't think they're going to I don't think they're gonna have much problems. Although Mickey says I picked the Browns.
Mick. You're
he
talking
also goes
about.
with Seahawks.
Mick came up in here earlier talking about people smoking the ganja.
Stop it. Get some help.
I agree with you on that. I agreed with you on that. And then now you want to say this about the Browns?
What?
Did you want to say this about the Browns?
What?
Who's smoking the weed now?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love you all. You all are great. Vlog83 says it's time to see who is worse, Justine Fields or Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins. Well, you have a front row seat basically since you're in Chicago, bro. And Sig Diggy says, I'm sorry, my bad. The smooth ASMR delivery by Cole Sports is brought to you by Sleazy Salons. No mani petties, just hands and feet done. Show you right. You might get a special lotion if you could, girl. Oh, I'm sorry. Back to 2-minute drill. Another 1 p.m. kickoff. This time at South Beach. The Dolphins at 4-1. They host the Carolina Panthers at 0-5. The Houston Texans, they are 2-3. They'll be hosting the Saints. Come on now. The Panthers and Dolphins in Miami. Who do you have?
You did the best by skipping it because we know the Dolphins are going to destroy them, especially after what they did, especially after what the Panthers did this past week with playing in the match that they did against the Lions. So look at that. When they're playing an even harder team this next week, oh yeah, they're getting destroyed.
Yes, and the Dolphins are favored by 13.5. And yes, the Dolphins should not have any problems with the Panthers. Sunday 1 p.m. kick, but it's at noon in Houston. The Texans at 2-3 host the Saints at 3-2. The Saints are favored by 2.5. Who do you have, sir?
Well, this one's definitely going to be an easier contest to go back and forth on, but I think I'm going to take your Texans in this one. The Saints, even though they got a better record, they only got a better record by one more win over the other team. So
that's true.
It's only the records flip. They only have a difference of one win and one loss between the two teams. So I'm not sold on Derek Carr and what this team has been doing this season.
I'm not either.
And they're going to need the rest of the season to establish themselves in that offense to get a good chemistry together. It's just not there right now. And the Houston Texans, in a shorter period of time, building this team, because you got the rookie after you brought in Derek Carr, with drafting him, I feel like they're on a better pace, a better trajectory for success this season. Not saying they're going to go to the playoffs and win, but on paper, record-wise in the standings, I feel like, and the rankings-wise, that the Texans are a better team right now, and they can win this game this weekend.
I think the Saints on paper are better, but the Saints, they have, although this all would be belying the statement considering what we saw Sunday, but then again, this was the Patriots. The Saints, they have the propensity to let teams still be lingering in games. So, because of that, I'm picking the Texans, not necessarily because I think they're better, but I just think they're at home. And the Saints, they just let teams linger, and they let them linger for far too long. Like A3, oh sorry, my bad. Sick Dicky says, and Yup Mouth Dental Insurance, either keep it minty or keep it shut. I love that. Like A3 says, the elves are going down, and elves he's talking about meaning the Browns. Thank you, Brownie the Elf. Mickey Delaney says the Brown, or I think he means Browns, will smack the taste out of the 49ers mouth. And of course he says give him the fish, and he says here come the Saints. And I think they'll say there go the Saints too. But yes, I'm proud of the Texans. And the Saints, they'll have other battles. 405 kick, 205, 105, in Vegas between the Raiders at 2-3 and the Patriots at 1-4. The Raiders are 3-point home faves. And who do you have in this game, sir?
Based on what they did yesterday, doesn't really mean that they're going to come into this game and get the win. I think with the way things have gone for the Patriots over the past few weeks, it's time for them to come over the hump. They're going to finish this week 2-4. They're going to beat the Raiders.
I want you to give me a reason for me to pick the Raiders. But I agree with you. The Raiders are unimpressive. Josh McDaniels is coaching them. They're more of a dumpster fire than the Patriots are. And yeah, I think both teams will be 2-4 as they exit Allegiant Stadium. So that means it's the Patriots' victory. The Rams in SoFi, 4:25 p.m. kick Eastern, 1:25 in LA. They host the Cardinals. The Rams are 2-3. The Cardinals are 1-4. The Rams are favored by 2 field goals. Who do you have in this game, sir?
Call of Duty's still out, right?
He's still out.
Well, in this game, I have the Arizona Cardinals winning then over the Rams.
Call of Duty meaning Kyler Murray. Something tells me that the Rams will try to rebound, but I can see them screwing the pooch against the Cardinals too. But I think the Rams will rebound. I just get that feeling they are. I think the Wunderkind, he has games where he forgets there's a running game, and then there's other games where he actually decides, oh, running actually is a really good option. Yeah, I think this is one of those games where he realizes, oh, running is a good option. So I'll take the Rams.
I mean, with the Arizona Cardinals, with their losses, they're losing to good teams. And even in those games, for the most part, they're in it most of the game. Like, they're close. Mm-hmm. So for that reason alone, I have to say that they have been facing better competition. It's gotten them on a better playing level this year. And the Rams really haven't. And that's why I feel like the Cardinals have the edge with that and can pull this one out if they really work hard at doing that.
Mickey says, give them the Jaguars, who we talked about that in the featured attractions portion of the show. And we agree with you there, sir. 6 says, with some of these games, forget Madden NFL. I'd rather play NFL Street for comic relief.
Great game.
And looks like Mickey's agreeing with you. Give him the cards. Well,
thanks for agreeing with me for a change there, Mick.
It's and it's not that I don't think you're wrong. It's just the Rams frustrate me. The Jets are 2-3. They host the Eagles at 5-0. Kickoffs at 4:25 p.m. in MetLife Stadium. The Eagles are only favored by 6.5, though. Who do you have in this game and why?
Could this be the time where Zachary Capono Wilson steps up and dethrones the current NFC champions, reigning NFC champions who are currently undefeated? No, he's not going to. Zachary Capono Wilson is not going to dethrone the Eagles. They are not going to be the team that does that this season, okay? Zachary Capono Wilson is going to get mollywopped at home this week. He is going to get embarrassed in New Jersey this week. That's what's going to happen. The Eagles are going to smear the Capono right over the field. Is what they're going to do to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, even LA Knight agrees with you. 6 says, Eagles at Jets. One team shows how easy it is to be green, while the other is still struggling. Yeah, good point. Like A3 says, Arizona just needs to give Kyler Murray an Xbox Series X with a copy of the latest, oh Lord, Call of Duty and send him on his way.
It does come out next month. The new one. You can give him Modern Warfare 3 and set him on up for retirement, because that's what he seems to be wanting to do, is play Call of Duty and be the best Call of Duty player he can, minus taking that energy and putting it towards his actual job.
The fact that you had an organization put in the contract, you must study the playbook a certain amount of hours a week. Never mind. Like A3 says, sorry, Mr. Bukwafi, but the Eagles are going to fly again. Mickey says, give him the Raiders and also give him the Eagles. And I'm with you all. The Eagles are going to run their record up to 6-0, and I think it's not going to be pretty. I won't say it's a blowout, but it's not going to be pretty. And then we get to the Sunday night game. The Buffalo Bills at 3-2 host the New York Giants at 1-4. Kickoff is at 8:20 p.m. in Orchard Park, New York.
Oh, yeah, you knew it was coming. It is time to acknowledge the third dumpster pelican on this list, being Daniel Mother-Fathering Jones. And look at what he has done. Yep, he's the third one, the second tallest one. Over there in the back, right behind the tallest one. You have 1 beside 2, 3 beside 4, and they are getting raided by the other pelicans around them. There is so many dumpster pelicans, I could probably count all 32 of them in this picture. And Daniel Jones, the third one on this list. Look at what he did last week. When you have the Manning brothers calling this game, not yesterday, but before, can you think about how Eli looks? Eli looked like, I don't really want to say that because it's probably going to get me canceled. But what I do want to say is he looked like he was really disheveled watching his former team play as bad as they were with Big Bro, rubbing it in right there on the air. When it comes to this Giants team right here, they are going to get mother-fathering destroyed by the Bills in the Bills Stadium, because the Bills are comfortable there, for one, but also the Bills are on a totally different level than the Giants. The Bills, in my opinion, are not as good as they were of like last year and the year before. I feel like they've stepped down a little bit.
They've regressed a little,
But they're still light years better than this Giants team led by Daniel Mother-Fathering Jones. And they are going to do great things against this Giants team this weekend, that being the Buffalo Bills.
6 says, with the Giants at the Bills, I'm getting nostalgia for Domino's Pizza and Buffalo Wings, both barbecue and hot sauce regarding the latters. Vlock A3 says, Bills Mafia or Daniel Jones? Gotta go Bills Mafia. And so do I. And that concludes the 2-minute drill.
Always get sad when we end the 2-minute drill because that's when I know the show's almost over.
Man, I'm glad I made that mistake.
Total football talk.
As long as it's one. That's great. I love it.
And now we have reached the post game. This is, of course, where we will have the final word on the things that have happened in week 5 and what we feel is coming up in week 6 on the NFL season of 2023. And for his final words, Drew.
So for what we saw in week 5 and going into week 6, we saw some progression by some teams. We continue to see the Dolphins dominating the NFL right now and going NFL video game style, like Madden video game. The Chiefs are up there with the same record, but they're not playing in the same way because you got to think about the amount of points. Dolphins have put up 181 points. With the most amount of points in the entire league. Nobody else has scored that many except for the 49ers are in second place with 167. The Eagles have 141. So just put it all in perspective. That's how tight things are. They're scoring a lot of points. Now, when you compare the teams who have scored the least amount of points, the ones against them who are giving up the least amount, you have to look at the 49ers as well. They're giving up the least amount, and they've got the second highest scoring rate in the NFL. So between those two numbers right there for offense and defense, that's scary. Okay. That means that, in my opinion, this team is definitely going to get to the NFC Championship game, has a chance to go to the Super Bowl, even though I threw shade last week. Okay. Let's just put that as water under the bridge. Let's forgive and forget and start liking TikTok videos again. Because when it comes to all of that, we have to like each other's stuff out here when we see what's going on with the 49ers. Because I said what I just said. Because I'm seeing these videos on different platforms, on people that are throwing shade on them, just like I did last week. And people are liking the you-know-what out of it. And then this week, the same people are posting things, doing a 180, contradicting what they're saying. I'm not contradicting what I'm saying when I'm talking about the TikTok video or anything, what I just said. I'm saying this. I was wrong. And I brought stats to the table for my final word to prove to you that I've done my homework, okay? I've done my research on this. People, lighten up, okay? I made a mistake. You make a mistake every day. People don't try to hang you for them out here for calling one thing wrong and giving too much praise for the Cowboys. One person tried to tell me, this person that I know, and I think they were just doing it as a joke, tried to tell me that I should burn off my ink work on my arm because of what I said, giving the praise to the Cowboys last week. But I said, how can you be a real fan of the whole sport? Can't just be biased about one team, and especially when Cole and I talk about all 32 teams in the league. If I came up here and picked the Commanders to win every single week, you'd be canceling me. You want me up here because of my energy and my entertainment. But if I came up here and said that all 17 weeks that the Commanders were going to win, well, all 18 weeks, one of them being the bye, 17 games. If I said they were going to win all 17 games, you would be hitting up Cole saying to cancel this show before the next one even got thought of. Okay. So when I think about this and I think about the 49ers situation right here, I was wrong. And even though I clarified it earlier, I wanted to take this moment to say that I was wrong. I still feel the same way that I do about the fans. You guys need to cool it. It is not that serious. And if you get this hype over a sports team, then you really need to reevaluate your priorities in life. And that's all of you out there. you can do better. And I'm not just talking about 49ers fans. I'm talking about Cowboys fans too. And Gerald Jones and all of you out there that take it too serious, okay? And you're probably saying, well, Drew, don't you have a formerly known as the REDSKIN's tattoo on your arm? Yes, I do. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that's what I'm all about at the same time, okay? So, and the proof is in the pudding if you pay attention. That's all I'm going to say about that. However, words are never truer than they are now, as they were yesterday, as the mistakes of last week of picking the Cowboys. I assure you, I may make that mistake again someday, but it will come from a different place. Not an emotionally charged pick like it was last week with the 49ers. It will be a lot more factual based. I know that you know that we know that we can all do better out here in these streets. And that's what I have to say for my final word.
Oh my gosh. A Niners fan, an Eagles fan, and Giants fan rooting for the Cowboys. I thought the world ended when I saw that. Lord have mercy. All right, so it almost seemed as though all of NFL fandom was all about the 49ers and Cowboys. We were seeing 49ers fan and Cowboys fan wage war with each other and claim whose schlong was bigger, whose legacy was greater, whose team was better, whose team not just of 2023, but of their whole entire history was better. And quite frankly, for that whole week, I was disgusted. And why? Because it seemed as if we got caught up in a loop where the other 30 teams didn't matter. And it's not even because two teams are good. It's the fact that it seems as if that was the main focus. And it shouldn't have been, because there's other great teams here in the league. Now, I will give y'all credit. There's only two other matchups in the playoffs that we have seen as frequently as the Cowboys 49ers. That'd be the Cowboys and Rams and the 49ers and Packers. All three, of course, along with the Cowboys 49ers, they have all met in the playoffs 9 different occasions. So I understand the glamour matchup, because that's what I call it. It's a glamour matchup. I understand the allure. I understand the prestige. I understand the attraction. I get it. But there's more to football than that. So I was glad that we got a chance to see the Steelers and Ravens. I was glad I got a chance to see upcoming teams like the Falcons and the Texans play. And yeah, it was a hot mess to see the Commanders and the Bears play, but I was happy to see that because it was good to see a team dedicate their win to a fallen great in Did Buckus. But with all that being said, there's a bigger world, Cowboys fan and 49ers fan, than your group. Now, others who I know are intelligent enough. I'm talking to those who want to basically say how many rings, because guess what you both share? You both share the propensity of doing that and rubbing the rings that you have amassed and accrued to everybody else to prove that your team is greater than everybody else. Well, guess what? The worst team in the league has more rings than you two do. Now you can take that and smoke it.
As long as it's one. Oh, it's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
And for those of you that are going to smoke it, like my man just said, you can take the words from that song, and I believe 3-6 Mafia brought this back out in the mid-2000s. Because those of you that are acting like that are probably the ones singing, we gonna drink, we gonna drive, we gonna smoke, and get high. That's what you're doing if you have that mindset.
I like that. Mickey's loving the message. Says, he says, amen, preach, Brother Drew, which I agree with you too. He says, come on, Cole, Bring the plastic plate like Drew did. B-Log says, well, I knew Cowboys were going to lose, but I would have liked for them to see. I would like to see a better fight. But you're right, Cole. We need to look at all the teams. Mickey says, come on, Cole, get fired up. And V-Log says, someone please relay this message to the moronic Republic of Cowboys Nation. They need to hear it. And I agree with you. But, of course, you're not in that group. Thankfully, you were not, Victor. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
We touch base with something real quick, Mick. When it comes to this statement right here on Come On, Cole, get fired up. If I had this man's schedule, I would not have the energy that I have when I come on these shows. So the counterbalance that you have with this show, Cole brings us the awesome visuals in the planned prep and still says some articulated great words.
Thank you.
But if you want someone that's going to just go from 0 to Sam Kinison out of nowhere, that's why I'm here. That's why we have the show that what we have today is the counterbalance act. Cole's the what's up girl Barry White, and I am the Sam Kinison bringing the energy on the verge of a heart attack, ready to bring it here. No, I'm just kidding. But we're all having fun out here in these streets, and if we had the same exact energy in the same exact person, you guys would lose your mother-fathering minds because there would be no break in the conversation. There'd be no breaths, and somebody would die during the broadcast of overdoing it. So I cannot work with someone like myself for 3 hours because I would literally push myself to the brink trying to outdo myself from the previous day.
Yeah, and if it was two people that were just amped all the time, Dion.
Ain't nobody care. Who cares? Ain't nobody care.
On top of that, if this was part of a big time network, they'd hire this man to say this.
Yeah.
And then, if we were both like that all the time, eventually we'd have this type of conversation as well.
Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah. Mickey says, okay, I'll back off, Cole. But look, I appreciate you guys. You have any more words to pass along to everybody before we do break camp and leave?
Most importantly, like every week, thank you all for tuning in. It makes this even funner experience. We already have a blast doing this together, but having the fans come in here and put your 2 cents in, especially Mick giving me a hard time for my picks for a little bit, it's a little humbling. You guys did great. I appreciate it. When you are part of this show, you bring out the best in not only myself, but Cole Johnson. But biggest things to get excited for my own self projects, if you want to see them this week, in about 2 hours, I got to jump off here in a minute. We got In or Out Sports Debate, episode 103. Ryan O'Neal is on tonight. And then in 2 days, on Thursday, episode 5 of D. Willie in the Evening. If you want to see an episode called Establishing Dominance for $37, that is what this week's episode is going to be. Thursday, 11:15 p.m. Eastern time. The comedy's coming. It's not even sports-based. We're in a whole new element, taking things to a new level for you, from me, to you, from me. We're here, 11:15 p.m. Eastern time, 2 days from now.
Oh, I can't wait to see that one. And, of course, I can't wait to see In or Out later on tonight as well, because if you think he brought the energy now, wait until you see later on tonight. Goodness gracious. And if you want to reach this man, Mr. Drew Willingham, his social media apps are there, from Cash App to Instagram to Twitter to, X, to Facebook to TikTok and YouTube, which is the Surtober Media YouTube channel. And for me, you can reach me at flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson for any and all your needs. And of course, you can catch me at the Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channel. So with that being said, thank you for liking, thank you for sharing, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for hitting that notification bell so you can catch any and all content that emanates from the Surtober Media YouTube channel or the Comey Media YouTube channel. For Drew Willingham, I am Cole Johnson, here to say in parting, as we always do, in life, just like a tackle, keep your head up, and always remember, you gotta play until the whistle blows. So long, everybody.
ain't got to go home, but you got to get on up out of here. See you next week.